fans. The 100% Cup Series welcomes you to Phoenix, Arizona for the running of the Dogleg 500. I'm Andre Grimbush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Costa pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TVs and computers. It is time for another round of racing here in the 100% Cup Series. This time, a little bit different of a circuit, Corey. You can see on the track map, classified as an intermediate, but not a whole lot of banking. Very unique shape around this track, and drivers are going to have to deal with that all night long.
Yeah, the first flat track of the season, bringing a completely new set of challenges. And it also a very important race because being the finale championship race in November, having a good run and getting that flat track experience and that confidence definitely puts a little bit more pressure on tonight's race.
Yeah, if you can build a good setup for your car tonight and you feel like you can get things under control, that is information, and that's a notebook you can take all the way to the fall time for the final race and maybe win a championship on. So you're exactly right. Very important race for these guys, and I'm sure they're just hoping that by the time we get here again later in the season, iRacing hasn't changed too much, but either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. Here's a look at our playoff picture. Speaking of the fall time, Adam Mennefield currently leading the points picture as far as drivers who are locked in. But the first driver without a win who's not locked in is Cameron Stone. He's 70 points above the cut line. But, Corey, I'm looking at this cut line here, and it's looking a little bit close. We've got really a handful of drivers within 6 points of one another, from 16th all the way down to about 22nd. Not a whole lot of wiggle room there. We could see the playoff picture shift dramatically tonight.
Yeah, you see some big names there that you expect to see a little bit higher up, such as a Ralph Hutchison back there. Kyle Ammon has showed some speed. Jason Baker, he is a fast driver as well, and he's been in one of our other leagues that we cover. On my side, Derek Heitman has showed a lot of speed in that number 76 ride. So definitely a lot of shakeups, a lot of guys that can go up and steal a win. And somebody has, the number 41 machine has been coined as Jedi on the standing, so I guess we will infer that knowledge ourselves.
That is Jason Taylor, and I keep having to tell Jason, nobody's going to call him Jedi. It's not going to stick, but he keeps trying. Here is the rookie standings, the Rookie of the Year standings. Jim Schofield still leading the way as far as this is concerned. He's 6 points ahead of Patrick Gitter, Chris James, Alex Russell, Boyd Hogan, Clayton Hoffman, Mark Paget, John Broussard, Trevor Ryan, and Carl Dodson. All these drivers competing for Rookie of the Year. I believe this is the biggest class of rookies we've had in quite a while. So quite intense competition there. And, Schofield and Gitter in particular, Corey, those two drivers we've seen a lot of success out of just in the first few races, a lot of speed, and it seems like they are more than capable. So that'll be fun to watch play out throughout the season. We do have team standings as well. Apex currently leading the way with 417 points up on the board. Team Conti not too far back. They moved up one position after last week's running. They have 337 points. Then to round out your top five in team points, we got Dirty South, Elite, and Prodigy, if I can speak properly. Silver Bullet is in sixth, which is kind of interesting to me because they were really a contender last year for the team championship title, and maybe not quite having the pace early in the year, but we'll see if they can turn things around there.
Yeah, indeed the case, as we do come to a very difficult stretch of tracks here. Of course, here we're going to Coda, we're going to a super speedway at Atlanta, Talladega thrown in the mix, so definitely a lot that can skew the standings in many capacities here. But our timer, Andre, looks like it is ticking down 2-0, so it'll be time for us to get ready and head down trackside in just a matter of moments. Of course, qualifying already situated in the series done on Friday night, so we already know who the lineup's going to be, and that warm-up has concluded. So pace car will form, grid will form, and let's get ourselves racing tonight.
And qualifying on pole this week in a turn of events that surprises just about nobody. Defending league champion John Delaney. He got the championship here last fall, and he's going to try to back it up with a win in the spring. Boyd Hogan to his outside, starting P2. Third and fourth is going to go to Hoffman and Anderson. And 5 and 6 goes to Dyson and Medeiros. Ralph Hutchison rolling off inside of row 4. He's in P7, right alongside Matt Long for Lockdown Racing. Rounding out the top 10 is going to be Chad Sander and Lucas Hoitzma.
And then 11th, you find Raymond Root in that number 45 machine with Jeremy Miller rolling off on his outside in position number 12. 13th, you'll find Mark Padgett, and then rookie point leader Jim Schofield in that 14 spot. Trevor Ryan and Cam Stone, Stone of which going to be on our webcam segment here today. He's going to be in 16th. Neil Pearson and Jason Baker, just talked about him. He's in 18th. And then rounding out our top 20, Alex Van de Sant and Robert Miller.
And outside of our top 20, we've got Patrick Gitter and Derek Heitman. Behind them, it's going to be Matt Dicciani and Tanner Marty in 23 and 24. Looking a little bit further back outside of 23 and 24, if the graphic ever scrolls, we've got Alex Murray starting 25th in that number 22 machine. Sean O'Brien Jr. for Apex Racing is going to roll off 26th. 27-28 is going to go to Broussard and Pierce. Running out the top 30 is going to be Sammy Borey and Dustin Hall.
Yeah, we got to speed through these. We got Chris James in 31st, Wayne Grassi 32nd. We got Tracy in Rob Tracy 33rd, Damaris Hickenbottom 34th, and rounding out our grid, Kyle Lehman, Randy Drumhiller, Dalton Mobley, Adam Benefield, Alex Princeton, and then Jason Taylor caboose on the field. But I think actually, are we getting 2 pace laps out of this, Andre? I think we are.
Yeah, it looks like the admins have extended our pacing, so we're going to go around again after this. Light should go off this time, I believe, and everybody's going to be able to get formed up. So it's going to be difficult, I think, on this initial start. I'm just taking a look at the track information right now. Looking at a 101-degree track surface, which isn't necessarily surprising out here in the desert, but as with any track, if it gets over 100 degrees, you're not looking at a whole lot of grip. You're not going to have a whole lot of leeway when it comes to wheel spin. So all of these drivers are going to have to be very careful getting up through the gears. And up through the gears, they are going to have to go again with that 5-speed gearbox. It's really made a lot of these intermediate tracks a little bit more complicated, not just on restarts, but throughout the course of the race as well. Pace car is coming down one of the most convoluted pit roads we'll see all season. And Jonathan Delaney is going to make a long run down what used to be the front straightaway through what used to be 1 and 2 is now 3 and 4. And then he'll finally reach the Geico restart zone, and the field will be in his hands. The green flag is going to fly mid-corner, which I'm sure caught a few drivers off guard as the outside lane not getting the best jump. Jonathan able to really cut that dog leg, and that is a tactic we're going to see all night long, Corey. He's able to get out to a solo lead. Meanwhile, the number 92 machine of Clayton Hoffman, he was able to jump up a position.
Yeah, I call it the dog leg dive here at Phoenix. That's what you see when these guys go on the restarts and just fan 4, 5, 6 wide, getting through the dog leg here. But everybody did a good job of it so far, down to double file formation. Of course, Delaney pulling away, but as you can see on screen right now, we go back to probably the area about 10th on back, still in double file formation at the moment. So people try to get themselves situated. You will see the lines change here, Andre. 1 and 2. You'll kind of see guys gravitate more towards the second lane. In 3 and 4, which my brain still has the inverse ingrained in its memory permanently. Here on this end of the track, you'll see guys want to be on the bottom, so you will have that kind of situation going on where you have to set yourself up to be in the right lane on each end of the racetrack.
It really is interesting the way that 3 and 4, the way that 1 and 2 really can be run in pretty much any lane. You can run up high, you can run down low, you can even cut down beneath that yellow line and get away with it. You can run wherever your car feels comfortable. Then you get to 3 and 4, and you're right, everybody's going to be diving down to the very bottom. They're going to be hugging that yellow line, trying to get the car to rotate as best as possible. And that's because in 3 and 4, there is no grip up top. I mean, it's just pure dust and marbles. If you get up there, you're doing something wrong, and you're going to find yourself sliding into that safer barrier more than likely. So, got to be very, very cautious of that. And the closer to the bottom you can keep it, the better. But right now, nobody really has anything for Jonathan Delaney. We ride on board with Robert Anderson. You can see he's actually going to opt not to cut the dog leg. He's going to stay on the racing surface there in 5th place. Let's go back to one of our camera drivers now, Cameron Stone. got the webcam set up, and he's finally gotten away from that.
Caution on Speedway.
So our first caution for cause, I would assume.
I don't see anything glaringly obvious. I will try to sift through as well as our producer. We'll try to sift through, and it was actually an administrator thrown yellow. I cannot tell you why, but that is at least the reasoning behind it.
Tell you what, I'm going to do a little bit of in-race investigating. I'm going to go have a word with Damaris and see exactly what the mindset was once he's done talking to the drivers. So I will be back momentarily.
All right, thank you so much. In the meantime, yes, my mic is hot. Well, it's already 6 laps into this race. This is producer Carl, by the way. Corey, what have you seen so far that you're either liking or not liking?
Well, at this point, we saw a lot of patience. I mean, Phoenix is a track where I kind of talked about it at my broadcast last night of Division 2, where it's a track where cautions are usually aplenty. A lot of people just have a lot of hard times racing cleanly here with that dog leg specifically. And we've seen a lot of patience, guys giving room, which is good, getting this race that green flag flare and letting these guys figure out their situations as Andre has returned from his trip to the admin booth.
Well, I never made a trip to the admin booth, actually. I'm looking through the Discord channel, and I don't see Damaris in any of the Discord channels. So I'm not certain what's going on there. I know that I was going to, after I couldn't find Damaris, I was going to ask Kevin, but that actually leads me to a storyline for tonight that we've neglected to mention. Kevin Steele, one of the admins of the league Ironman, who had made 144, I believe, starts consecutively, got too many at-faults as of last week and got a 1-race suspension. So for the first time in over 100 races, we are not going to see that number 7 on track. We're not going to see Kevin Steele competing. And, more importantly, I don't have anybody to ask questions to.
Well, I will say, you hear a lot of stuff in leagues about admin who drive and how there's a lack of transparency. When an admin parks themselves because they're actually following their own rules, that is actually a very credible move done by the admin to actually follow their own rules to their own detriment. So I'm actually going to give him and Damaris massive kudos for that.
Yeah, obviously nobody wants to see anybody play favorites, and I don't think that really happens in this league, at least. I've seen the admins be penalized and suspended time and time again, so I definitely don't think they're giving themselves preferential treatment, and I know Kevin definitely wanted to be here for tonight, being the Iron Man of the league, having, I believe, the longest-running consecutive start record. Definitely a shame to throw that away as the green flag flies again. We are still unaware of what caused that yellow specifically.
It was a hot dog wrapper.
But I can tell you, Adam Benefiel and Wayne Grassi were black flagged, as was Robert Anderson. Anderson, on top of the black flag, was also given an EOL. So between Anderson, Benefiel, and Grassi, something must have transpired. But we were unable to catch it. So maybe if I see Damaris in one of the chats later, I can circle back around to that, see exactly what happened. But speaking of circling around, nobody's circling around faster than John Delaney. He has pulled out to about half a second lead over Boyd Hogan in that 69. He is able to just rotate through the corners so well compared to the rest of the field. We'll have to see if this short run speedy as translates into anything long run. I know that the tire model is ever changing, and actually the tire model, Corey, did just receive a big update with the new season beginning. So the car handles differently, the tires wear differently. From what I understand, tire wear has actually been lessened, which kind of gives these guys free rein to get a little bit more aggressive early in the run.
So last night we noticed that lap times kind of degraded to right around that 29-second flat, some cases a little bit worse, but about a second and a half fall off. Last night, I mean, not to bring the pun into the mix, but Matt Long had the field covered by upwards of 3 seconds until green-white checkers aplenty came in. So I definitely want to watch that 97 car currently running in 5th right now. But we do have a piece of information presented to us. And we're just reading it as we speak about the cause of the yellow.
So
drivers were supposed to get black flags at the start, but they didn't, so they wanted to kind of reset and give them their due-found penalties. It was kind of a corrective measure for something that wasn't done on the grid, if I'm inferring properly. But even Kevin Steele himself, who gave us that tidbit, was not fully sure, so he is kind of just guesstimating himself. So,
all right.
It was called a blanket admin caution. You know, it happens. Well, maybe, you know, it was, I think I saw in the iRacing chat here, you know, it rained virtually, and they started a competition yellow to check tire wear. So,
Wait, an admin threw a blanket?
We'll make up our own reasonings for it, but thus far, I'm very impressed, Andre, with the racing that I'm seeing. Because again, Phoenix, as I kind of said while you were, maybe we're here actually after all, is usually a track that on the official side of iRacing is quite a cluster, and you can't get clean racing to save your life here. But these guys really are, you know, single file, giving each other space, and really starting to, you know, thin this thing out very early in the event.
Yeah, these guys got single file pretty quickly, and so far it's been a lot of clean racing. And you know, you kind of come to expect that from this group of guys, but it's a tough track. Phoenix is definitely tough, and to see them get sorted out so quickly is still a little bit of a pleasant surprise. But I will tell you, Jonathan Delaney's comfortable lead is quickly deteriorating as I'm hearing a call out of a wreck. The yellow flag is out.
Tanner Marty is in an unfavorable position on the backstretch, along with Brandon Pierce in the 38. Brandon Pierce, I mean, him getting involved in an early wreck, I mean, that's just kind of the routine at this point, it seems. But he has always managed to recover. We'll see if he's able to do so as we queue up the replay here on screen. Looks like they're going off at 2.
Oh.
And that was
Brandon
just a
Pierce.
running out of space type situation, it appears.
Yeah, that happens quite frequently here at Phoenix. It's a very narrow back straightaway, and when you have two cars going for the same real estate, that kind of thing can...
Got a top-down view here, which may enlighten us a little more. But actually kind of showed that I think a top-down view may help a little bit, just to see if he thought he was clear. Let's see, this will kind of uncover the frosting for us right here. Yeah, I think he thought he was clear, and there was still a little bit more of Tanner Marty to go before he was clear. And unfortunately for both of them, some contact, and it looks like a little bit more damage than is instantly repairable for Brandon Pierce. So he's having some repairs done in the pits right now, along with Tanner.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the damage model was changed from the hashtag tank mode cars we had before, but I'm...
Via the release notes, no.
Okay, so that may actually be good for Brandon Pierce and Tanner Marty, because they may actually still be in the game. I mean, it looked like a hard hit, but we've seen worse.
But the ARCA car was not supposed to get a 900 horsepower engine, and it did. So
this is true.
What a shocker.
The release notes are not always accurate.
Andre, you're being called out on Discord.
Also, there is a bit of a correction from Kevin Consistency Steele himself. He says it's not 144. It was 111 points races in 100% Cup Series history. He was the only driver who had raced in every single one of them until tonight. And he says that he is certain the universe will collapse in on itself because he's not here for race number 112 of the league.
Were you counting
also,
Galaxy?
he made... comment about Rob Tracy promising him that he'd do something that I'm not going to say on air. But yes, just to quickly answer producer Carlos's question that he asked on the cold mic. Yes, Carlos, we are counting that.
One thing I don't think we actually talked about our stage breaks today, so just to quickly enlighten that. We will be having stage 1 at lap 60, and then stage 2 will be at lap 185. 7 sets of tires available in the pits tonight, and our iRacing incident limit, which has come into effect at every single event this season at that same level of 13, our race details.
Yeah, so the incident limit up to from what it was last week. I believe last week it was at 11x, and now it's at 13. I could be wrong there. Still pretty stringent, as it has always been in this league, and these guys are going to have to really keep an eye out on that. I mean, if the damage really is the same as it used to be, it's just going to be something they have to keep in mind, because, before, when the car was actually able to be damaged, you never really got to that 13x, because if you wrecked hard enough, your car was just done. It didn't matter if you had 4x or 8x. But now, with the car being able to take a few hits and stay in the race, those points tend to accumulate just a little bit more, and that's kind of why we're seeing so many drivers reach that incident limit this season. And so they got to watch how they drive. It's kind of one of those things, when you know the car is sturdy, when you know it's not going to break down, you drive a little bit more aggressively, you do crazier things, but can't take that too far, as John gets a really good start out of 3 and 4, and he is able to really gap the field. I don't know what John's doing different than everybody else, but he is getting such great launches compared to everybody else. And meanwhile, Boyd kind of lacks behind there just a little bit, and he reels them in over the next handful of laps. But they're going to go 2 wide for third place. The number 92 machine trying to take away that podium position from the 0-4 of Andrew Dyson. Dyson fighting back on the high line. And again, you can get a lot of multi-groove racing here at this track, Corey. I mean, especially in 3 and 4, we can see these cars on the high line not just able to defend, but actually able to get out ahead a little bit as they do some door slamming. The 92 and the 0-4 really trying to figure out who is going to take this podium position. Meanwhile, behind them, you've got some extra players here. The number 30 machine, Jeremy Miller, Matt Long as well as in the 97. He's going to take them 3 wide through the dog leg.
Yep, the dog leg dive here at Phoenix, as we well know it. They were 3 wide for a brief moment, headed down to 2, which is a lot more manageable, but we'll see if Dyson can hang on the outside, stay side by side with the 92. He cannot do so. So they will still race side by side, and you'll see this, as you said, Andre, this outside in 3 and 4, no matter what they do to it, even in real life, they can put 10,000 gallons of PJ1 up there. It just does not work, as just as I say that, you see 3 wide on the top end of the shot there. But they'll stay side by side, and we're wrecking on the dog leg. Big wreck back there. Let's see who that was. We have a bunch. We have the 96 of Van de Sant, the 77 of Mobley down there to the inside wall. I saw somebody essentially helicoptering, if such a word exists. So I think we'll see that on replay right now.
Oh, I think we caught it.
A lot of smoke from that perspective. Couldn't really see the cause of it, but you could see a track that was essentially gridlocked without anywhere to go. Oh, as we say. Oh, there's the helicoptering that I spoke of, the 96. And everybody else had some hard impact to the inside wall for Chris James. That 82 machine, he's been fast all season.
Yeah, somebody pinged off the outside wall here. Oh my goodness, something happened to Van de Sant's car. I mean, he just turned dead right. Number 9 involved, Alex Princeton. Let's try and get an onboard look at the steering wheel here. I mean, this car just turns. Oh, he got loose on the transition. Down from the banking to the flat apron. It got loose. He overcorrected. And that was all she wrote. And I was going to mention that earlier. Sometimes that dog leg can get you a little bit loose. It doesn't look like there's a lot of banking there. Trust me, when you're driving this car, you can definitely feel it. And that is precisely what got Van de Sant just a little bit loose. And kind of takes me back to the days of the initial aero package this car had on iRacing, Corey, where it was almost like an Indy car. You get a little bit sideways, and the air starts disrupting the car, and there's really not a whole lot of saving it. It just was snapped loose.
Yeah, that was one of the things. We do have I think a couple guys down pit road getting damage fixed, but yeah, this with the diffuser and the lack of side force, once this car got even 1% yawed out or sideways, it just went. Essentially, that diffuser could not make downforce once the car was kind of yawed out. and you would just go around. And of course, they added a little bit more side force over some iterations, but still, it's not a lot. And that dog leg is a sharper turn than you would expect. So you kind of have to commit to either running it or running the flat, and you have to build the setup to actually allow yourself to run the dog leg. So it's just kind of the nuances of Phoenix. And one thing I also saw last night, I wanted to bring up earlier, we actually had a wreck last night in the dog leg. And this is something we'll watch later in the race, of a guy who was on the outside. He right reared somebody in the dog leg because he was on the inference that the guy on the inside was going to cut the dog leg when he didn't. So that's kind of a nuance of Phoenix, is some guys will stay on the racetrack and other guys will cut the dog leg. And if you guess wrong, that could also cause incidents as well.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to have a lot of spatial awareness. They fan out so much through the dog leg in particular, and your field of view is so limited. You got to just hope that you got a good spotter, or that you're really paying attention to those drivers around you. But I tell you what, lights are still on the pace car. We'll see if they go off this time. I believe they should. In the meantime, I do want to give a quick update on a couple of our drivers. Neil Pearson actually lagged out of the session. He dropped out due to packet loss. And Nolan Hodgson, unfortunately, suffered the same misfortune. He was out of the session. Now, Neil actually reconnected, but Nolan, as far as I can tell, is still out of the race. So that is unfortunate for that number 12 machine.
Neil is our resident Aussie, so if there was connection issues, a little bit more understandable in that camp. But Nolan also had simultaneous issues. That is a slightly concerning sign for potential future of the remainder of this race. But the pace car has pulled into the pits, and the long, arduous, just long wait of pacing down the what is now back straightaway into 3 and 4 into our Geico restart zone, which did actually cause us some issues last night. Remember, it was just modified again by iRacing, so these guys are still a little nervous with it on that outside lane particularly. But on that accelerator is Delaney out to that 3-4 car leg jump right off the bat, and the dog leg dive for everybody else shuffling off into 3.
And this Geico restart zone is in such an awkward position for these guys. I mean, it really is just at the exit of the corner. So a lot of these drivers, once the leader gets on the loud pedal, they're still going to be navigating their way through a relatively flat corner. But John, like you said, getting out and away. He's got Boyd Hogan trying to reel him in, as he's been doing all night long. As we take lap 30, they're going to go side by side for third once again. The number 92, the number 97, fighting through 3 and 4 with Jeremy Miller not far behind. And then when you look behind Jeremy Miller, it's just a cluster of cars. You've got RJ Root, you've got Alex Murray side by side with a few of these drivers. The number 21 machine as well down there on the bottom trying to battle it out. You got Lucas Hoytsma watching these guys just absolutely fan out, trying to figure out where he's going to put his car. How can he navigate through this field to gain some positions? But I think you give it a few laps and most of these guys will settle in single file once they feel comfortable with it. But in the meantime, these starts have been pretty chaotic.
Yes, they have. And to a point that we issued a little bit earlier with the dog leg, remember, if your iRacing spotter will not tell you the proximity of other drivers when you are down there on the dog leg. So if you're 2-3 wide on the dog leg, you are completely on your own with that spatial awareness. So definitely have to figure that out as we're watching the 21 car of Patrick Gitter, who is battling with a car who is having connectivity issues. So we'll shy away from that battle. But up front, Boyd Hogan, I think we got the clarification on that last week, is cutting into Delaney's lead. And just behind that is Matt Long, who does have that long run pace and starting to make it known here as we're about halfway through stage 1.
Yeah, I think we're starting to get a good sense of where everybody is in terms of speed. And John, he's got some short run speed. He's been really good on the restarts, but it seems like Boyd Hogan and Matt Long both just have better speed over the course of numerous laps. They tend to just reel them in little by little, despite the fact that they're in dirty air and John has pretty much clean track in front of him. I remember a time where the aero package with its car was so convoluted that, I mean, if you were out front, it was just about impossible for anybody to pass you. And now, even though these guys are in dirty air, they are reeling them in. I think give them a few laps, we're going to have a battle for the lead. Even fourth place, Hoffman isn't too far behind. These three leaders trying to show the way. 92 trying to reel them in. He's got Murray in tow, as well as Jeremy Miller, RJ Root. Everything kind of single filing out as we predicted, but I tell you what, John's easy night that he's had so far, I think that's got to be a little bit less easy.
I would definitely agree with that. You can kind of see in 3 and 4 that Long and Hogan are trying to kind of play games with the line, where I think Long is trying a different line, and then the 69 will kind of take it away. We'll see what happens here this time around. You can see Delaney going a little bit higher, and 69 following him. Long trying to stay on that yellow line, trying to get that clean air on the nose of their machines, but it just seems that they're kind of stalled out at about a car length in between. Did see just behind that Alex Murray in the 22 taking a peek underneath Clayton Hoffman in that 92, but not able to make anything happen there, but still chugging along here. Lap number 37 on the board.
Yeah, I think these guys are going to have to put their cars wherever John's not. So John's been pretty partial to the low line, not just in turns 3 and 4 where we would expect, but also in 1 and 2. He's been pretty close to that painted yellow line. If these guys were to work together and use that high line, carry a little bit of momentum, I think they could make it work. But the thing is, that high line is going to be really difficult to use as of right now. But as the race goes on, they're going to lay down more rubber. The track should cool down a little bit throughout the course of this race. And when you combine those two factors, that high line in 3 and 4 will come to life. And I think overtaking will be made a little bit easier. But right now, we're just in the beginning stages of this race, and these drivers are having to contend with all of the challenges that go with that. Look at Dustin Hall getting into a little bit of a scuffle there, some contact with, couldn't quite make out the car, but 3 wide through the dog leg. They're going to try to figure that again. Corey, you made a good point when you said, you know, some drivers cut it, some drivers don't, but Cameron Stone in the middle of a 3 wide situation. I wish we had the camera turned on for that one, because I bet you he was not too relaxed with that one. That was quite a situation.
Yeah, 3 is one thing at a club and at Daytona. It's another thing on a flat 1 miler, as we do have the onboard up for Cam as he is making that move underneath Hall through the dog leg here. Now they merge back up. He sets himself up for 3 and 4, but now Hall is going to have what I deem to be the preferred line on this side of the track. A little bit of a wiggle to the inside. You can see Hall get the run on exit, and now Hall's going to be in the unfavorable position here through 3 and 4, and he's going to try to hang on and stay on the right rear quarter panel, and he's not going to be able to do so. So move Stone to full possession of that 14th position.
I tell you what, a lot of times we cut to Cam and it's all smiles, laughing, maybe drinking a beer or two. Right now he's focused. You know, there's no laughing and smiling. This is absolute focus. He's wheeling that number 57, trying to work his way up the grid. And that's what it takes at Phoenix, man. You cannot give yourself a breather. You got to be watching the cars around you at all times. You got to be feeling out what your car is doing. Because in terms of difficulty, this is not a track that is going to allow you to make too many mistakes. And if you make a mistake, it's going to punish you. You know, we saw what happened to Alex Mandesant. He got a little bit loose, and then suddenly he's in the outside wall at Mach 1, taking a few cars down with him. And the same thing can pretty much be said for any battling down the back straightaway, as narrow as it is, and even through 3 and 4. So these drivers in the back, they're probably all looking a little bit like Cam right now, completely focused in.
Indeed, that is the case. We do have some shuffling going on amongst our top 5 now. Matt Long did pass the 69 to take sole possession of the 2nd spot. Alex Murray has taken the 3rd spot. So Hogan dropping back to the 4th spot, and then he does have Clayton Hoffman just behind. So now Matt Long kind of in the position that I think he is best suited for. He's got 15 laps until our stage break, and he's got 4/10 to eat up to surpass John Delaney. Of course, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. I can tell you from the back end stopwatch that I have that he was a skosh faster, skosh being 600ths of a second. We'll see what it is this time around on the stopwatch. We have Delaney turning a 63 and a 61. So I'd call that a tidbit faster that last time back.
I always wondered precisely how much a Scotian a tidbit were. What were you saying, Carlos?
Yeah, Kevin Steele is been sending me. He's been sliding to my DMs, privately sending me messages saying that Cam is shifting, and he's also saying that a lot of the drivers are shifting as well because the new update did change some of the gear ratios. So this is the first time that we're seeing these cars like being shifting regularly. And when we were on board with Cam, we did see him, or at least I did see him shifting as well.
Yep, in the broadcast I covered last night, it actually was a normality that they were shifting on both ends of the track. So Phoenix, on top of being bumpy, on top of having all the different, peripheral awareness you have to have, you're shifting, 4 or 5 times a lap. So just adds to the difficulty level of what these drivers are having to contend with here this evening. But you can see Matt Long slowly inching closer. John Delaney washing up the track maybe a little bit higher than I think he may have wanted to. You want to run the higher line there, but I think that may have been a little bit excess. So we may have ourselves a battle here as you have the telemetry tracker on screen. You can just see how much faster that everybody has been in comparison to each other, and it's a lot of green in that number 97 line.
And Matt Long just barely clicking away faster laps than John Delaney, reeling him in little by little. And this is Matt Long's forte. I mean, he's always had the long run speed. He's always preferred these longer green flag runs pretty much at every track, but I'd say Phoenix is a track that really suits his driving style and suits his ability to conserve his equipment. And I think John's going to have his hands full if we see a lot of green flag racing tonight, which I kind of expect. We've had a few incidents so far tonight, and the caution flags have not been scarce, so to speak, but I think as these guys get a little bit more comfortable with the car, comfortable with the track, the race goes on, the green flag runs are going to come, just like what we've seen right now. And when that happens, well, it's going to play right into the hands of drivers like Matt Long and Alex Murray, too. I mean, he's passed a few cars up into the 3rd spot on the podium. But it is 10 to go in this stage, and we have 11 to go in this stage. And we have the 97 trying to reel in our leader. Let's temporarily bring the noise. And we are back from the Bring the Noise. We've been riding on board with Matt Long, who is now right on the bumper of John Delaney. He has continued to reel him in. Now he's there. Corey, he's within striking distance. The question is, how is he going to make this pass, and how quickly is he going to have to make it? I mean, what is the sense of urgency when you've got Hoffman and Murray not far behind also pressuring him?
Yeah, have a photo finish for one of the stages last night in Division 2, so we may be setting ourselves up for that. Did see Clayton Hoffman, I think, pass on the outside there, so here he comes. Again, Delaney starting to wash up a little bit higher than he needs to on this end of the speedway, and that just opens the door for Long to get that clean air and get that run. He's got to run a little higher line, but he doesn't want to run that high, but right to the back bumper, but in the dirty air wake is Long. You can see him get tight there off before, and now here comes the 92 of Hoffman with a run under Long, exactly what Delaney wants to see, have them battle for second, 4 to go in the stage.
I think these guys need to get around Delaney if they want to take the lead and hold on to it, because they need to worry about Alex Murray. You got to remember, this driver started in 25th. He's raced his way all the way up through the grid. Now he's going door-to-door with Matt Long for third. I mean, he is just blitzing through the field right now. Definitely one of the cars to beat, if not the car to beat. And that is going to give John at least a second to breathe as he kind of breaks up the battle ever so slightly. But as I say that, look at this. Hoffman in the 92 down on the yellow line. Can he make this pass? Can he make it work out of 2?
Yeah, cleared him.
Man, oh man, that was out of nowhere. He got such a big run through the dog leg and completed the pass through turns 1 and 2. New leader of the race is going to be Hoffman, and now John's got more pressure from behind.
Matt
Murray.
Long having some major issues back there. He's all the way back to 7th now. He was just going for the lead, and now he's lost 5-6 spots in a matter of about 2 laps.
Now is not the time to be giving up those positions. We are getting really close to the end of the stage. There are stage points available for grab. And John Delaney into the outside wall. That's going to put him in a 3-wide situation, maybe going into turn 1, the 0-4, trying to figure out where he slots in. They are going to go 3-wide for 4th. Matt Long still, oh my goodness, I believe that is the number 15. A little bit loose through the dog leg.
Got loose on the apron, on the dog leg.
Miller was making some serious headway there, but lost it, and now he's kind of did what Matt Long did. Had a good position and dropped all the way back as we do come to the end of the stage, coming to the white flag here in the stage. Alex Murray all the way up in no man's land there through 3 and 4.
He got bumped.
And that's what can happen. I believe he got a little bit of a tap there, according to Carlos, and that just sent him up the track. But it is the final lap of this stage, and it is all Hoffman in the 92, driving away from the field right now. Delaney trying to hold on to second place. Boyd Hogan has worked his way back up on the podium through all of the chaos. But behind him, that doesn't matter, because for Hoffman, it is a green and white checkered flag. He is going to take a stage win. John Delaney, Boyd Hogan, Dyson, Long, Murray, Heitman, Hutchison, Miller, and Hoytsma all going to grab themselves some points, with Padgett just barely missing out.
So good run for the stage there. Hoffman really turning the jets on in those last 10 laps. I might have to go back and try to figure out what happened to Long. He must have had a big loose moment. Didn't catch it live, but did manage to still hang on for a 5th. Miller back to that 9th spot after that dog leg little kerfuffle going on there. But we'll see pit stops, 4 tires and fuel. And one thing worth noting, Andre, is I am kind of scrolling through the telemetry here that I have on the back end. And some guys have already burnt a set of tires, which I actually believe Ralph Hutchison, who is in that 8 car in the 8th spot coming down the pit road, has already burnt one of his sets here today. So we'll see how that all plays out, of course, in the grand scope of things as this plays off. But everybody in the pits, we'll see if anybody has issues. Expect 4 tires and fuel, getting ourselves set up for stage 2.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for some of these drivers that burned a set of tires, because obviously we've seen that cautions are possible, and that just opens up the door to kind of change your strategy on the fly. And you don't want to be caught short without a set of tires if we get a late race caution. So unfortunately, this is a situation where even though they already took a set earlier, they're going to have to pit again. If they were to stay out and start this stage on old tires, they really wouldn't stand much of a chance. The fall off was maybe not the most severe we've ever seen, but severe enough that they just wouldn't be able to really hold up the leaders. Race off pit road. It's going to go to the 92. And speaking of the 92, I'm going to try to locate him in Discord, see if I can't. Yep, there he is, Clayton Hoffman. Let's bring him up to the booth see what our stage winner has to say.
Tires.
Mr. Hoffman, so Andre Grandbush up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Clayton, you turned on the afterburners in those last few laps of the stage. You got around John Delaney, made it look easy. That car's looking pretty good.
Yeah, feeling pretty good. Yeah, I mean, ran and won NIS. Wasn't really good. I mean, wasn't bad. Just wasn't good on the long run. Made some changes, and now it seems like we're really good on the long run compared to some of these guys. I know Alex and Matt had to get through some traffic to get up here, so I think they'll have less. I don't know if Alex got caught up to the yellow or what happened there, but I don't keep track. Looks like they're right behind me, so they won't have much traffic this time. So they're gonna push hard early. I don't know how Delaney's gonna go, but yeah, just with these long runs, I mean, it's kind of down to chance here whether you push short, hope for a caution, or you save your stuff for the long run.
Yeah, now we saw a few drivers before you try to make the move on John, and they couldn't quite close the deal. What has it taken to make an overtake here at Phoenix tonight?
Drive off, really. I mean, you can dive bomb into a corner, but a lot of the time that's just going to lead to bad habits and wrecks, especially if you're not actually beside the person when you try to go into that. So you don't want to make your move on entry. You really want to set up your move for exit. Get beside them on the straight, and then kind of just sort of like box them out. Don't give them the arc that they want, especially center of the corner. You kind of drift up a little bit in 1 and 2. You really take advantage of all the grip that you have there.
All right. Well, lights are off on the pace car, so we'll put you back up with your team. Thanks for your time, Clayton.
Thank you.
That was our stage winner and current race leader, Clayton Hoffman. We'll start in the inside lane. John Delaney has had the benefit of being on the inside as the control vehicle for all these restarts. Now he's going to have the slightly more difficult task of having to restart on the outside. Now, iRacing did ease up some of the rules and regulations on what causes a black flag and stuff for the guy on the outside, but we did see Carl Dodson, who was pole sitter in Division 2 last night, get a penalty as the leader. So still maybe some bugs with that restart zone, so still want to play it on the cautious end. But as we come through 3 and 4 here and turn that Geico restart zone, we'll see how they get accelerated. That's a little bit of a shake-up and stack-up there. Delaney kind of had to start and stop, but he stays right with Hoffman as they do the dogleg shuffle here at Phoenix in the 1.
Yeah, Clayton was unable to get the same sort of jump that we saw John getting earlier, so we'll see if John can use that short run speed to maybe take the lead early on here, or if the 92 is going to be able to play some defense. Meanwhile, you got Boyd Hogan behind these two now. One thing to keep in mind, Clayton Hoffman and Boyd Hogan, they're both driving for Legacy, so they're teammates. They're probably running very similar setup, so if that 92 has good long run speed, that 69 certainly has it as well, and we kind of saw that where he fell through the grid early on and then raced his way back up to third prior to the end of the stage. So if we keep getting these green flag runs, those Legacy boys are going to be the ones to watch, and John's going to have to figure something out. I don't really know what you can adjust coming down pit road anymore. They've made so many changes to these cars, what you can and cannot do, but whether it's tire pressure or something, John's got to figure something out for a long run, because I think that's going to be the ticket.
Tire pressure, wedge, and of course in the car you have your 3% adjustment back and forth on brake buys. That's all you can really do for race day adjustments. Of course, there was the track bar a few years ago, but in the next gen car that doesn't quite exist anymore, to my limited knowledge. So again, not a lot you can do once the race has started, but we'll see if Hoffman can hang on, because if Hoffman can hang on, say about 15 laps, eventually the speed is going to skew from Delaney's short run speed to Hoffman's long run speed. But if Hoffman can keep the lead the entire time, he very well could drive off into the proverbial sunset here, which won't hit for about another 7 hours, but he'll be able to drive right off into this. You can already see that run he got through 3 and 4, gained about 4 or 5 car lengths just off that one corner.
Yeah, he really closed in, or pulled away, I should say, through that corner. He was able to extend that gap. Boyd Hogan behind John, just kind of trying to watch John, see what lines he's running, watch his teammate up in the lead, see what's going on there. And a little bit further back, you got Murray, Matt Long. These are all contenders. These are drivers who've shown a lot of pace early in this event. And you got Derek Heitman, Robert Miller. Robert, of course, getting a little bit loose through the dog leg, making a pretty good save and keeping that car in one piece, just barely clinging on to some stage points. And then look at this. We got Cameron Stone in P9 right now. Last time we checked in on him, we were riding on board. He was battling for 14th with Dustin Hall, so he's made a few passes while we haven't been looking. So his running order definitely being shaken up a little bit here in stage 2, and really Phoenix is really proving to be quite a racy track tonight. I mean, a lot of overtaking, and it seems like these guys are having fun.
Yeah, they're staying more compiled together than they were last night. I think that just goes to the testament of how competitive this series is, and how much practice and fine tuning and how just overall skilled these drivers are. That they could, if Division 2 were staying 2 car lengths apart, they're staying 1 car length apart here in the big boy race on Saturday night. They do have a live chat question directly for you, Andre. It is being inquired if the leader on the final lap wins the race.
Well, not always, actually. If the leader were to be disqualified for some, discrepancy, maybe illegal adjustments or some sort of rule broken during the race that's not found until post-race tech, usually the car that crosses the line first wins the race, but it's not always the case.
And hot off the presses, we're just getting Andre addendums everywhere right now. I have an addendum from Kevin Steele. Nobody has ever had fun in a Gen 7 dirt, which is your name. So when you said they're having fun, the amount of fun is quite limited by the vehicular choice that we are currently driving.
So counterpoint to that would be Ricky Stenhouse in the Daytona 500. I bet you he was having fun. Just kind of stumbling into a Daytona 500. Doesn't get much more fun than that.
It's always fun when you win. I mean, the fun. What was that Kyle Busch interview in the COT in 2007 at Bristol? I have fun, but they still stink to drive. So it's always fun when you win. Makes it a little, takes a little bit of that edge off. But we'll see how the rest of this race progresses. Maybe then we'll turn around. But what was fun is that Gen 4 car coming out. So maybe they'll have a subsidy league of this for that Gen 4. That will be interesting to see as we're on board with Kyle Ammon.
He's not having fun.
Who is back in the 39th position. So his fun rather minimalized here on the evening. Currently running 19 laps down. But he still is on webcam, so we'll still want to show him that. He did have a great run last night in Division 2, but not carrying over into the big dance on Saturday night.
See what, I always love Kyle Ammon's onboard webcam. I mean, the dude's eyes just look like he is just this close to just dumping somebody. Like, he always looks angry, even though I know he's not. It's fun to watch. He's a very intense driver, that's for certain. And it doesn't matter. He could be racing for the lead. He could be racing for dead last. He has the same amount of intensity, no matter where he is or what he's doing. It's good fun. 3Y TV multicam, top of your screen. Dustin Hall trying to make some moves happen, maybe gain some position. Bottom of your screen, that's Robert Miller trying to navigate a bit of a 2-wide situation in front of him, trying to maybe figure that car out a little bit more after having gotten loose and kind of feel out the limits of the grip for that machine. But a lot of racing going on all over this track. A little bit too wide behind Dustin Hall. You got Jeremy Miller in the number 30 just going side by side momentarily. But up front, as we watch these guys more mid-pack, nothing really changing, so don't worry about missing anything there. Here goes Robert Miller making a move on Heitman. Can he take P7? Not quite yet. He does have the preferred line through 3 and 4. He's going to try to get the nose on him coming to the back straightaway, and I think he will. Just got a little bit of draft help behind him, and he is clear up into 6th, or 7th, I should say. And
Cam Stone filling in the gap as well, really throwing that 57 in there to try to go 2 for 1 there on Heitman, and he will succeed in that endeavor as well, as Devin Medeiros making his presence known in that 20, trying to knock on the door here of a top 10, trying to get underneath Andrew Dyson. Just behind that, we have the number 41 of insert nickname here, Taylor, currently battling with Sammy Bury and Bobby Anderson, who's been rather quiet tonight.
Oh, what a photo.
Yeah, Bobby Anderson hasn't made a whole lot of noise, but definitely been having a solid performance as we ride on board with Jason Taylor. He is taking that number 41 Supreme Machine up inside the top 12, trying to get a top 10. They're too wide in front of him. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. He's kind of boxed in at the moment. Kevin Steele is asking me to refer to the backstretch as the Stenhouse Straight for the rest of the race, so let it be known, back straightaway at Phoenix is now the Stenhouse Straight, and any incidents that occur there will be called as such. Still on board as the number 04 finally concedes that position, and they're going to single file out. That's going to be quite a bit of help for Jason S. Taylor. Still not going to call him Jedi. No apologies there, Jason. It's not happening.
What his name says though.
Yeah, the old plays have actually been updated to accommodate such fact. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, you can make your own inferences at that. But oops, Sammy Bury there. I just saw him in that number 64, really washed up, nearly into Jedi, and they're. I don't know if we can get this on screen now. They were dooring each other down the back straightaway. You can see we do have a side-by-side battle on screen with Miller and Gitter side-by-side. There's that battle I mentioned with Bury and Jedi, if you will. I guess I'll just be the one to use his nickname.
Well, if you want to validate him, I guess that's on you. I refuse. I absolutely refuse, Jason. Let it be known. Coming down the Stenhouse Straight, looks like Robert Miller is going to try to pick up one more position on Gitter, getting himself up into 6th if he can make it happen. Doing the dog leg cut here all the way down, and it's not quite going to be enough just yet through 1 and 2. Can he make it happen here? Looks like he's going to get the nose on him through the center of the turn, and he may get clear by corner exit, and he does. He's going to slide up just in front of him, but tell you what, got to be careful with moves like that. We've seen what happens if you slide up just a little bit too early. Brandon Pierce earlier in the night, body was clear in that exact location on the track and got himself a little bit of damage as a result. I'm also looking at the timing and scoring while this is going on a little bit further back, and it looks like the battle for second has tightened up a little bit, and Hoffman he's kind of lost the lead that he had built up. It was up to about 9/10. Now it's down to about 5.
We'll keep an eye on that. I'll check out the lap times, and last time by, basically a dead heat, a 675 to a 673. So, and to be honest, the entirety of the top 5 separated by 5/100ths of a second. So you can basically throw a blanket on the lap times there. In the top 5, everybody is just dead equal. And you know what happens, Andre, when everybody's dead equal? They run single file, because if you're dead equal, theoretically you can't pass somebody if you're the same speed as them. So we do need to have a little bit of discrepancy to get these guys shuffled up a little bit, as we're 27 laps into the stint. I do know tire wear, rather fuel, right around 70, 80 laps. We're going to be going to lap 185 for the stage. So how these guys want to break that up will be interesting to see. But just as I was talking about that, Hoffman managed to pull away by about 2-3 tenths. So maybe just had a bad lap or two, and currently recouping that deficit that he gave up.
Definitely could have been the case. Again, we've been green flagged for quite some time, and consistency is not always going to be perfect. You're going to have the timing and scoring fluctuate a little bit here and there, and we know that 92 is just so fast on the longer runs. You can see he's now pulled it out to about a second gap ahead of Jonathan Delaney, who I think at this point John may actually just be holding up this group of cars behind him. We know Boyd Hogan probably has the same setup as Hoffman, so he should have theoretically the same long run speed. And Alex Murray, we've seen him race his way up through the running order, so we know he's fast as well. Then he got Matt Long, who was battling for the lead earlier in the night. So a lot of fast cars behind John, and it seems like they're just kind of anxious to get around him if they can. Now, John is, for the viewers at home, John is not the leader, so when they pass him, they won't be taking the lead. Just, you know, you got to pass the leader if you want to lead. We're just going to double down on that. But in the meantime, they are watching Hoffman really drive off into the sunset here. Another 2/10 that lap alone, Corey. He is going for it.
Oh, you just said double down and going for it. Making me hungry over here, but double down sandwich at KFC for those who are not absolute, heart attack champions there. Delaney losing the spot formally to Huygen there, and Delaney trying to cross over as he will do the big dive there down the dog leg and get loose in the endeavor. So that didn't work for a crossover, but Alex Murray in that 22, he's going to have the speed. He's going to pull right up to that back bumper of Delaney. Delaney's going to have no air on that spoiler. It's a little bit free there off of 2, and the yellow flag will rear its ugly head. Chad Sanner having some issues off of 4.
So he's down on the apron trying to get back up to speed. I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage, at least not from the distant camera.
That was a issue of fighting for dog leg space.
Luckily able to avoid contact with really anybody else as he was spinning, and he kept it off the wall as well. He's kind of lucky.
Pearson in that 62 that kind of facilitated that little go around there.
Lucky that happened through the dog leg where he's got a lot of space to keep it off the wall, as opposed to the Stenhouse straight where things are a little bit tighter and the walls close in definitely a little bit quicker. And I think to the surprise of nobody, Corey, pit road is going to be a very busy place after about 34 laps since the stage caution.
Yeah, so this puts us in a window as I put my Larry Mack hat on. I think getting to the stage is going to be, as I think the 69 completely overshot his box there. We're looking at about 90 laps to the stage. I don't think that is in the realm of doability, so this will take another pit stop to get to the stage based on my very novice pit notebook here.
You have a notebook? I'm just
a mental notebook.
Okay, I was gonna say I'm just winging it. You're way more.
What was that? What was that? There was a practice session one day at Bristol in the real world where someone's notebook just blew out the window of the car all across the racetrack.
It was in the rear spoiler.
That's my brain.
Or the deck lid.
Yeah, I want to say that actually might have been either Chad Knaus's notebook or Ray. I think it was Chad Knaus or Ray Evernham, but I'm pretty sure Knaus.
I think it was more. It wouldn't have been Evernham. It was more recent than that. But I think it was in the realm of like COT era. But yeah, the papers just completely flew. Now I'm gonna have to do some back end research and try to find the video. But yeah, that's basically my brain when it comes to strategy. Is you just throw a bunch of papers in the air and maybe you come down with something that makes sense in the end.
Yeah, maybe. Seems like Hoffman's definitely got his strategy figured out, and really a lot of these guys do. But I am wondering, what does this mean for some of these drivers who burned a set early on in this race? You mentioned Hutchison had come down pit road fairly early, so he's a set behind. And I believe Hutchison came down pit road that time as well. So some of these drivers starting to go through their sets pretty quick.
Yeah, we have 2 stages, so those are 2 automatic cautions. We had a green flag stop in the stage 2, so that's 3. We have probably 2 stops. So loose numbers here. I think there's 5 automatic pit stops, so that would leave you 2 strategic sets to play with. And for someone like Ralph Hutchison, if he did take tires again, he may be out of his quote-unquote strategic sets of tires, which will put him in a precarious position. But he's a very smart driver. He's a successful driver, so I'm going to take his word that he's confident in his decision more than me guessing about it.
So the lights are off on the pace car, and again, he's going to make his way down what has become the most convoluted pit road, I think, in the entire sport, now that we have moved the start-finish line to what used to be the back straightaway, now is the front stretch. But they're going to pace their way down the Stenhouse straight 2x2 all the way through. And the 92 is going to have to try to replicate the success he had on that last restart at the beginning of stage 2. Jonathan Delaney backing that number 6 up to the bumper of the 15. And it's not going to help his cause much because the 92 gets an even bigger jump than before. And look at this, Alex Murray going to try to get around the number 6 up into P2 through turns 1 and 2. Can Murray get clear? We've seen a lot of passing take place tonight, and a lot of it has been in this very turn, turns 1 and 2. John fighting back on the high side, and actually Murray's going to concede the position there, Corey. I mean, he lifted straight up. He didn't fight for that.
Maybe Delaney has that short run speed, and he's like, you know what, I'm just going to let you do the dirty work, try to get by Hoffman, and I'll just follow you through. A well-known strategy is Miller in that 15, that cartoon schemed Toyota. Can't quite tell what's on it, but he's trying to make a move underneath Matt Long in that number 97, but he doesn't quite have the advantage yet. Long really sends it off into the corner to give himself that edge and to remain clear. And I think he will do just that as Pat Gitter just behind, but Miller trying to find that placement by trying to get lower and tried to get that cartilage there, but was not able to do so. But look at to the outside. Gitter trying to get to the outside of Miller off of 2.
And we're getting a wreck, I believe, out of turn 1 and 2.
Stay green thus far. Everybody seemed to situate. I see Sammy Bury is rather slow. I'll try to see if I can do some recon and figure out what happened there as we stay green. Contact between Sammy Bury and Dustin Hall. Absolutely no idea how that stayed green, but Barney clearly thought it deserved to be, but that is.
All right, here's a replay.
Replay queued up on screen for us.
Top of your 3-wide TV multicam. Dustin Hall just going for the same real estate as Sammy. And
like how?
Yeah, I don't understand how that stayed green either, but I mean, they did get it pointed in the right direction. And poor number 29, man, he has been involved in just about everything tonight, and really hasn't been any of his own doing. He's just been wrong place, wrong time. Luckily, though, not too much damage there, and Barney definitely did not have his finger on the caution button, because I think if he did, that definitely would have been one. Meanwhile, look at this. John Delaney for the lead on the outside of Hoffman. We've not seen many a pass take place on the outside, but John made it happen. He is going to be back to the point, which is, I mean, again, he's got the short run speed, maybe not necessarily surprising, but doing what he was unable to do in that last restart, using this short run speed to make the pass, possibly learning a little bit about the 92's driving style, learning a little bit about his own car, and just finding more success as the race goes on. We've just crossed into lap 104 out of 312, so everybody starting to really get into a zone, so to speak, even with these cautions breaking things up. But this line of cars right here, I mean, look at this, Corey. Matt Long is practically pushing Murray through these corners.
Yep, that just shows the speed, and, you know, can't find the way by, but he's still close enough that he can, you know, basically stalk the rear bumper. And I did get clarification. It was Slugger Labby's notebook off of Paul Menard's car. With the notebook flying out the window, so we have that cleared up for our knowledge sakes. But it wasn't Bristol.
Yeah.
2014 it was for the night race there. I couldn't find the clip, but that was the that is the clarification. As you can see there on screen, exiting turn number 2, 2, 3, and 4, and under a blanket. And you can kind of see through the long shot there as we the camera panned through the long shot on the back of the field there. Everybody, for the most part, single file with a few exceptions here and there. So really starting to kind of get ourselves into a rhythm here for the meat and potatoes of stage 2.
Yeah, we are starting to kind of settle in, I would say, for the race. We're starting to get a better idea of what everybody's pace is and where they sort of fall on the grid. I'm just curious what that number 22 could do if he could get out into clean air. If he could get around John, if he could get around Hoffman and be the leader and have that clean air, I gotta wonder what he could do, because I know there is so much speed behind that 22. I mean, just the way he drove up through the field, but it seems like he got up to third place, kind of stalled out, and not very aggressive either. I mean, just Murray himself, you saw how he conceded that position to John early on this restart, Decided that John's got a little bit more pace. I'm not going to hang myself out to dry and potentially get freight trained up on the outside or anything like that, so I'm just going to give it to him. And he seems to be comfortable riding where he is, but it's kind of a question mark for me right now, and I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on him as the night goes on. Looks like Miller may have had a bit of an issue. I heard him chattering on the radio earlier, back and forth with somebody, and he did drop a position on the grid. He was up to 5th, now down to 6th, trying to race with Patrick Gitter. These two, no strangers to each other, Corey. Seems like they've been racing around each other pretty much since like lap 60 or 70. They've been together, so sometimes it just kind of works out that way. You find yourself around somebody for pretty much the entirety of the race. But as Kevin pointed out in our booth chat here, the paint scheme on Robert Miller's car is a replica of the logo for his dad's food truck, which I believe Robert told me his dad sold the food truck and then decided he still wants to do that. So he bought another food truck, I believe, and he's back in business. So just a fun little thing going on there for Robert, and a nice little tribute to his dad with the paint scheme.
Can't tell you how many times in life I have done that. I have bought something, I have sold it, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, immediately go out and rebuy the thing. But look, I've done that on a much smaller scale, but kudos to him on a food truck. That's definitely a cool little endeavor right there. But it does look like, as we're kind of focused on, I think that's Dustin Hall and his territory there in that around that 16th spot. Derek Heitman, big surprise to me to see that 76, just not really showing pace. He was very strong last night. He's been strong at Vegas. He was strong at Auto Club. Just really a middle-of-the-pack driver. And Dustin Hall, for that matter, as well. But Dustin Hall, we do know him kind of having that closer mentality where he just finds himself in the top 5 with 20 to go. I don't know if that is the case here for him, as you can see the lower third graphic for Dustin Hall and the appropriate graphic that has been populated by Dustin.
Okay. So I'm looking at the chat right now, and I don't mean to get away from the race here, but Cody Bird, I'm calling you out. You have said that Paul Menard is a bigger hack than yourself. Now, I don't necessarily consider myself a Paul Menard defender necessarily, but to call him a hack is entirely unfair.
Are we using Alex Bowman's definition of a hack, or rather Denny Hamlin's definition of a hack, which is just a really sad insult, or are we using it like a hack, like you're, manipulating something?
I'm going to say just like as an insult. But here's the thing. So Paul Menard, in his NASCAR Cup Series career, ran 471 races. He was running at the finish in 436 of those. So over a decade and a half career, 16 years.
Beloved.
He only
oh man,
DNF,
Kevin.
less than 30 races. Less than 30 races he DNF'd out of in 16 years. That is an incredible running at the finish average. Probably one of the best in the entire field.
Paul Menard is the greatest gentleman driver NASCAR's ever had.
And he won the Brickyard 400 on pure fuel mileage.
Paul may not have been the fastest man alive, but the man knew how to bring a car home clean.
And his daddy had money.
He did have money, but you know what? Paul earned the ride. He brought it back clean every single time. I mean, you can look at a lot of drivers who ran about where he ran in the field, 14th, 15th, 16th. Those guys do not have the running at the finish average that Paul Menard has. I mean, the man had a talent, and it was keeping it clean. Maybe not a talent for speed, but a talent for being clean, and I respect that.
He won some Xfinity nationwide Busch races. I think he won a road course race at Road America, if memory serves.
Correct.
So he did something in his career, which is more than other drivers have done. As we do have a change for position number 2, Alex Murray has surpassed Clayton Hoffman there. This is Robert Miller. We talked about him dropping back to 6th. Here he is, just stalking the back bumper of the 92, so he's starting to show that speed as we are 23-ish laps into the run. Here comes Miller with the surge to the inside, and 1 or 3, whatever side of the track we're on, he is to the inside. You can see the 92 going high. I think he's going to give him the spot. Matt Long trying to fill in the gap. Is he going to be clear? Robert Miller will be. He'll shut the door on Long, so That 92 starting to go the wrong way as the run progresses.
And that's kind of weird because that's exactly what we saw earlier in stage 1. He was right up there battling with the leaders for the longest time, and then he just sort of faded as the run went on. And then all of a sudden, his car came back to life. So he was fast at the beginning. The middle of the run was his weak point. That's where he started to fall back. And then all of a sudden, it came back to life. So whatever's going on with that car, it's the middle of the run that seems to be haunting him right now, and that's where he is. So give him a little bit longer, and I'm sure we'll see him back up here. But you're right, kind of going the wrong way. A driver who's not going the wrong way is Robert Miller, who's worked his way up onto the podium. He's currently trying to run down Alex Murray in the 22 as we go on board. Is clicking off laps that are just a little bit quicker than that 22, so definitely not a question of speed. It's just going to be a question of can he complete the pass. And while he's doing that, he's also kind of watching John extend his lead now 0.4 of a second over these two as they continue to race their way down the front straightaway through the dog leg. Again, got to be a little bit careful with that banking transition. The onboard gives you a bit of a better appreciation for just how abrupt and jarring that transition.
To the back bumper, through the center of the corner, really able to attack the corners, and even though he attacked the entry of the corner, still got the exit. He's going to take a look, he's going to take a dive, and he's going to have the preferred line through 3 and 4, and Murray's just going to say have at it. So move Robert Miller into P2 in 0.6 of a second to chase down our race leader. Once we get a clean lap in for the 15, we'll be able to dissect the lap times amongst the top two, but just off of watching him for a lap, now that he has cleared everybody, he's already gained a 10th just in the time since he's passed Alex Murray. So we are going to have a battle on our hands for the lead in the very, very near future.
Benefield is 5 laps down.
I definitely wouldn't doubt it. Now, Carlos just mentioned Benefield's 5 laps down. He was kind of wondering how that happened. Kevin already put it in chat exactly what happened. But basically, before that caution that we had, Benefield had come down pit road, and he had pitted. And then as soon as he got back out on track and he was trapped a few laps down, caution comes out. So that was very unfortunate for the driver of the 83, but that is why he is where he is on the running order right now. It's going to be
5 laps on that?
Difficult to overcome. I believe the other laps that he went down were a result of his black flag. I believe he had to serve a green flag stop at the beginning of the race. So that probably put him a couple laps down, and then this pit stop deal right here sealed the deal. But Corey, exactly what you predicted is coming to fruition. Down the Stenhouse straightaway, it looks like the 15 is going to close in just a little bit more. You can see the difference in scoring and timing. 15 railing him in little by little, and now through the dog leg, the 15 is going to dive it down low. It's going to gain him about a 10th. He is at the bumper of the number 6.
Yes, he is, and I'll tell you, every time someone goes through the dog leg, if the person in front of him goes low, Miller will go lower. Eventually, he will find himself at the inside wall, I think, if the situation does request it. But this is going to be the best chance. Look at him get the run through the center, on exit, all over the back bumper. And Delaney, he's not going to chase him down there. I don't know if he feels he has the stability in the car to do so. But here he comes. Miller is going to slide up just in front of Delaney there, cleared it by a matter of millimeters.
Oh!
Delaney gets on the paint, gets really sideways off a 2. Lead battle complete, but Delaney starting to be a little bit slideways in that number 6 machine.
Yeah, John definitely was wheeling that thing through the corner, and I think he was just trying pretty desperately to keep up with the number 15, and also, when you go from being the leader to now being in dirty air, your car's going to handle differently, and it's going to take you a second to adjust to that, so it might have just caught him off guard a little bit after Robert got around him, the change in handling, but now, lap 127 down the Stenhouse straight, it looks like Robert Miller is going to extend his lead to about half a second. Didn't take him long to pull away at all. Jonathan Delaney starting to fall back to the clutches of Alex Murray and Hoffman in the 92, who, by the way, these two drivers right here in frame, Hoffman and Matt Long, keep an eye on these guys. If we stay green much longer, I think we're going to see them close in on our leaders, just as we have in the first stage and early on in stage 2 as well. So we know they've got long run speed. Robert Miller seems to have long run speed as well, and that's definitely playing into his favor right now with the longer green flag run that we've had coming to lap 129. But Everything pretty calm right now, Corey. I would say single file throughout most of the grid, and not only single file, but we're finally starting to see a little bit of separation. You mentioned earlier these guys were really sticking to each other's bumpers and they weren't really spreading out. Now we're starting to see that separation, and I think it's a little bit easier for these guys to keep it clean and to keep it green when that happens. So I think, I'm going to make a prediction, knock on wood. We should be seeing some more green flag stops pretty soon here, and that's going to be fun. This pit road, Corey, is such a pain. It's fun to watch the drivers have to deal with it. Not so fun as the driver. You got to enter pit road on the Stenhouse straightaway. You got to go all the way around. Then, depending on where your pit stall is, there's a massive curve to this pit road, so you may not even be able to see your pit stall. If it's in the middle of the left-hand turn, it is very difficult to scope out your pit stall and pull into it correctly. We saw Boyd Hogan make that mistake earlier. He just kind of overshot, maybe didn't get quite a clear look at it. But then you have to drive all the way down through the dog leg. Just one of the most ridiculous pit roads on the entire circuit. And, dealing with it under caution when there's not too much pressure, that's one thing. But under green, Corey, that's another situation.
Yeah, I'd like to point out to the architects and designers of such remodel of this facility and how poorly designed that pit road is. I don't know if O'Reilly decided to pay like $10 million for a humongous advertisement space there. And I also get that they don't like curved pit roads. I guess maybe not, because look at that curve. I cannot justify that pit lane in any context, or why Phoenix has had to change configuration about 3 times in 15 years. But all conversations that are over our heads. But to your prior point, before we got off on that tangent, I do think green flag stops will progress in the near future. We are 30 laps into the stint. We are 52 laps to the stage. I really had to think about that. So we're kind of right around that halfway point, and we do have Boyd Hogan, who was kind of running at the back end of the top 10. First blood drawn. He is headed to the attention of his crew in that 69 machine, so we'll see if that draws any other takers.
Yeah, it seems a little bit early for my taste, especially at a track where conservation may play a bit of a role, but who knows? He's on the track, I'm up in the booth, maybe he knows something I don't. I can't imagine we're going to see too many drivers following suit just yet. If I was a betting man, I'd say a lot of these leaders are probably going to stay out another 10 laps or so if they can, and then come down pit road. But other than Boyd Hogan dipping down the pit road, up front, the running order pretty much remains the same. Robert Miller, John Delaney, Alex Murray, Hoffman in the 92, Matt Long in the 97. Then you got Gitter, Dyson, Heitman, Cameron Stone still lingering just inside the top 10 where he's been. And then Anderson. So Anderson in the number 5. We rode on board with him a few times tonight. We've honed in on that Kellogg's machine a couple times with our 3-wide TV cameras. And now he's finally breached the top 10. And in fact, he's just made the move on Cameron Stone for 9th. So it's taken him a while, Corey, but he is slowly working his way up through the grid.
Yeah, flakes were soggy earlier in the race. We didn't know if they were going to be worthwhile, but he's poured himself a fresh bowl and definitely has speed. And just as that pun works itself to death, Cam Stone enters this amazingly configured pit road here at the Phoenix Raceway.
So you can see on the webcam, he's going to get his car all the way down pit road. Don't keep right. If you keep right, you're in the O'Reilly's sign. I don't associate with people that go to O'Reilly's. So now he's going to pull into his pit stall, get that car serviced. Really hoping he doesn't pull out a can of Coors Light on the broadcast. That wouldn't be good, but it'd be very in character for Cam. Just kind of worried every time he takes his hand off camera, quite frankly. The jack stand goes up on the 57. He's ready to go. Out and away, navigating the final portion of the pit road towards the dog leg.
We'll see if our chat has approval of his pit entry, as they were quite critical of prior drivers' endeavor down pit road.
And look at this lead that Robert Miller has managed to accrue over just the last few laps. 2.7 seconds now over John Delaney. And one thing we're not seeing, Corey, is we're not seeing the 92 turn on those afterburners like we've seen so many times. And we're not seeing Matt Long turn them on either. So what is going on here?
So it's that segment in the race where I think you're kind of just figuring your car out. You're feeling that transition as the track cools down, as rubber goes into the track, as you kind of figure out where everybody's going. So either you have to calibrate yourself to realize, okay, I have a 4th or 5th place car, let me try to finish 4th or 5th with it, or all right, if I make this change, that maybe I can contend and get back up there, as we saw some smoke there on the front straightaway. Not quite sure where it stemmed from, but we stay green regardless. As what we got going on screen right now, I think we're following Derek Heitman having a battle of sorts down the back straightaway, side by side into 3. And he will clear for that spot successfully. We had not too much in the way of battling going on, not much going on. We do have Jim Schofield, our Rookie of the Year standings leader, down into the pits. Who else do we got going on down there? Bobby Anderson, pouring some fresh cereal. He's going to come into the pits right now in the Terry Labonte ride. So he is probably the highest of the pitters thus far. He was right around that top 10. But still, it hasn't drawn the attention of really anybody else up there. So we'll see if that does change.
So here's a bit of an update. Boyd Hogan has disconnected from the session. He got to his pit stall, sat there for about 30 seconds, and then just yoinked on out of the session. So not entirely certain what's going on there with the number 69 machine, but one of the front runners out of the running.
Yeah, do a recon here while we follow the action here. So just bear with me. I'm just going to see if I can deter if he did actually have any kind of penalty or if it was just kind of a rage quit. I'll just do some recon while we have a moment.
And while you do some recon, I just want to address the chat. There was some concern over my enthusiasm for Paul Menard, saying I may have been too enthusiastic for Paul Menard. I challenge you, chat. Give me a driver that has run 436 races and has a running at the finish average anywhere near Paul Menard's. If you can do that, maybe then I'll concede I shouldn't have been as enthusiastic. But you're not going to. I mean, the man's stats don't lie. He was the king of bringing the car home. Maybe not bringing it home in 1st, or 2nd, or 3rd, or 4th, or 5th, but he brought it home. He brought it home clean. And again, I respect that.
I have given up in my recon, so that question will not be answered as regard to Boyd Hogan. Either it was a rage quit or something out of maybe a personal emergency issue. But whatever it is, out of the race along with Alex Van de Sant, Kyle Amon still turning laps. 20 laps down currently at this juncture where we have a bunch of pit stops going on. But 25 guys in the pits. Dalton Mobley is in the pits. We do have Adam Benefiel in the pits, but of course he is a non-factor this evening given his multiple lap down situation. But still waiting for our top dogs to come in. They are currently about 50 laps into their stints.
He was Boyd Hogan. Now he is Boyd Hogan. And that's going to open up the top 5 to Derek Heitman, who is going to sneak his way in through the pit sequence and through the misfortune of a few others. He's been running inside the top 10. Has a pretty good car, but it just wasn't quite up to pace. Now he's able to get up a little bit. Okay. I was waiting on it. But, Heitman doing pretty decent right now. Dyson doing pretty decent. But a lot of these guys have yet to come down pit road. And I got to wonder, how much time are they giving up to drivers like Cameron Stone, as well as the number 5 machine, who have already come down pit road? They've got fresh tires. And currently they're out there lapping on those fresh tires, potentially running up the grid.
Yeah, I've always wanted to have that sound effect going. So kind of to your point there, as I think we have another couple takers on pit road coming down. At that point where you're kind of at... Oh, I'm going to interrupt my thought because we have a caution flag. Gitter
Anderson
in turn number 2 is not facing the direction that is ideal here on this racetrack. And let's find out the cause of said issue.
Oh. You got a little bit of help there.
Yeah, he did. Those were some fast cornflakes, and that was some slow 21 car. So unfortunately, that's just kind of what happens with the comers and goers and fresh tires, old tires. Sometimes the closing rate is just too much to withstand.
Gilbert's gonna pit.
I gotta wonder if there wasn't some history to that. I mean, from that angle, it kind of looked like Anderson was on a mission, man. He closed in like 6 car lengths, and just, I mean,
Gilbert's gonna pit.
I'm not saying it was intentional, but my goodness, that was quite abrupt. We'll put it that way. But Patrick Gitter is going to come down pit road, I believe, or maybe that's what he was trying to do. Yeah, Patrick was trying to come down pit road. Oh my goodness!
Carlos is proud of the fact that he knew what was happening before we actually had clarification of it.
I've been saying
he did not call that out, and the number 5 of Anderson, he had no clue that was coming. He had nowhere to go with that. That's kind of the importance of calling out your pit stop. But again, when you got to slow down prior to the Stenhouse straight, and you got this goofy pit road entry, sometimes things like that happen.
And that puts us in a position where we are going to have a plethora of wave around cars. We have 21 still registered on the lead lap, and about 10 to 13 cars or so that are registered off of the lead lap at this point. So it'll be a rather interesting restart here with about 30 laps of the stage whenever it does go green. But everybody who is on the lead lap getting their 4 fresh tires. And you can see Ralph Hutchison coming in. He is one set of tires in a worse position than everybody else, and he overcooked his pit box there. So that is not a move that he will want to make, but we'll see how it all shakes out. John Delaney being scored as the leader right now. Not quite sure how that transpired.
They stayed out.
It is being told he stayed out. I'm trying to analyze my information here. So Delaney, based on my information, he pitted.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Wait, what?
And timing and scoring is a little bit messed up right now. I'll tell you what, we'll get timing and scoring sorted out. Wait for the lights to go off on the pace car. We're going to throw it to a short little break, and we'll be back for the drop the green. And the pace car is going to commit the ultimate tragedy of leaving the Stenhouse straight. I would never want to leave the Stenhouse straight, quite frankly, were it me. And he's going to leave the field in the hands of Jonathan Delaney, who has inherited the lead through all of that pitting. Our race leader at the time of caution, Robert Miller, well, he's all the way back into, let's see, I believe that is 8th place. So he's lost some position for sure. And John, he has just been the wizard of the wheel on the restart so far tonight. And he absolutely is going to gap the field all the way down to that blue cone.
Yeah, that is the lowest he's been. That was about a foot from pile driving the pit road wall there, which I've seen it happen before. And he was very nearly into that situation there. But coming down I just refuse to say it, coming down that straightaway. And we're just waiting to see if that 22 could stay with him. Just behind that, side by side, we have RJ Root. He's finally making his presence known in this race. Andrew Dyson, Derek Heitman. I knew he had speed. Now he has the circumstances on his side. He has himself in that 3rd spot. I don't know if he'll be able to stay there. I don't know if he has a top 5 car, but I definitely think he can hang there in the top 10, maybe with the strategy can play out. But interested to see if RJ Root can take advantage of this situation. What can he do with a little bit more clean air? And then look at Jeremy Miller. So a lot of shuffle in the lineup here. Of course, Miller back there, 7th and 8th. Brandon Pierce, remember, he was involved in, I think, the first yellow of the race, but in true Brandon Pierce fashion, the comeback kid finds himself in the top 10 with plenty of time left in the race.
Yeah, this is the second time this year that Brandon has done something similar, where he's involved in something early on and then suddenly out of nowhere stages a bit of a comeback. So we'll keep an eye on him. And meanwhile, right on board with Mars Hickenbottom. He is in P11. I believe he stayed out on that pit sequence, so he gained quite a few positions. Now he's going to be conceding those back to the field as he is on those older tires. And you can see a few cars working their way around the bottom. He's not going to fight too hard for it.
Well, Damaris, you just have to kind of consider the inevitable when it comes to Damaris. They only brought their C car to Phoenix because their A car is getting polished off for Admin Motor Speedway next week. So did not expect much from the 00 here today because that A car is already getting prepped for next week's race.
Yeah, that's for certain. He's getting ready for Atlanta. Having won there last year, he's probably pretty excited for that. And Phoenix is probably just, it's just a drop in the bucket. It's just another race. We're going to get this done over with. Then we're going to the real man's track of Atlanta.
How did you say that live with a straight face?
I couldn't really. I kind of broke up towards the end there. It used to be a real man's track. I mean, a few years ago. Things have changed, though.
That's like saying pickles are good. You can't say that with a straight face. It's just such an odious thought.
I mean, they can be. Maybe not like on a burger.
I'm just waiting for chat to just absolutely decimate me and fire me immediately for that thought, because I'm just in a very rare position by not liking pickles, but that's just me. But let's just take a look at stuff that's actually relevant towards the action on the racetrack. Alex Murray is in a position to take the lead all over the back bumper of John Delaney here through the front straightaway through the dog leg. And we'll see what happens. You can see he's using that higher lane. He's getting that clean air. He's going to try to get that run off of 2 down the straightaway of sorts. And didn't quite get that run there, so he won't be able to pounce this time by, but I'll see what he can do through 3 and 4.
Not liking this hesitation for you. You gotta embrace the Stenhouse straight. It's as Kevin said, it's not gonna hurt you. All right, it's tradition here in the 100% Cup Series. So right now, Alex Murray's still trying to reel in John Delaney. You can see John moving up a little bit through 3 and 4. Not sure if that was intentional, if he's just trying to diamond the corner. He's able to hold on to his lead and pull away a little bit down the Stenhouse straight. He's able to carry a little bit more momentum out of the corner, but the number 22, where he's strong, is the center of the corner. And look at that, John into the outside wall. And unfortunately, unlike the Stenhouse straight, the dog leg is not going to be kind. And that's going to allow the 22 to pull up just a little bit closer, get on the bumper of the number 6, maybe try to get him arrow loose and make that move again. The 22 has been so fast all night long. I wondered what he could do if he could get out into clean air and get the lead. Well, we may have an opportunity to find out. Behind these guys, RJ Root is currently sitting 3rd, but Robert Miller, who restarted in 8th, he's already up to 4th. So we know how fast that number 15 is, and curious to see. In the fence, Wayne Grassi right in front of the leaders here. I think he's trying so hard to get out of the way that he nearly made himself in the way. Is that 3, currently 2 laps down in the 35th spot, but leaders will get by. Again, maybe a little bit soiled in the process, but they did get by in clean fashion. But RJ Root took that to his advantage, closing in. Remember, RJ Root, our Bristol Dirt winner from last season. He won that race in absolutely thrilling fashion, as that race is right around the corner, about 2 or 3 weeks away, or something on those lines. So we'll see if he can defend there. But he's closing in to within 3/4 of a second of this lead battle. Jeremy Miller, solid in that 4th spot, and much to our surprise, that dirty air really showing its ugly head on Robert Miller, who is stuck there, just mired back in that 8th spot. And I'm being told no Bristol Dirt by Cody Bird in chat. So I don't know if that's a scheduling thing that I just didn't pay attention to, or if he just doesn't like it. Well, Cody likes anything dirt racing related, so I think maybe Bristol Dirt has just been replaced. I know that the admins, if a race or if a track proves to be maybe not the best in terms of racing product, maybe a little bit too chaotic, they do tend to look at the schedule and see if it should keep its place. And It could just be that Bristol dirt maybe.
Concrete is the name of the game. We will be headed to Bristol, but we will be headed to the white stuff, not the brown stuff.
Which is probably a good thing, because Bristol dirt, I'm going to be fully honest with you, not a good idea. It didn't work for the dirt sprint cars. It didn't work for the late models.
It's the G word.
Yes, that's pretty much exactly what it was. And there's a reason that most dirt tracks across the country don't have, 45 degrees of banking. It just doesn't work with that style of racing. So, good riddance. Good on the admins for just going to the concrete Bristol, the real Bristol. I'm looking forward to it. Meanwhile, back on track. Look at this. RJ Root has closed in on Murray in the 22. He's trying to make this pass happen. He's peaked low. He's peaked high. Hasn't quite been able to get around the 22 as of yet, but he's going to look down low underneath the dog leg into turns 1 and 2. Looks like he is going to pull up alongside. This could be the move for second, and RJ is going to get clear. Looks like Murray's not really going to fight too hard for that position, and RJ is far up the grid as he's been all night long, and looks like, I'm sorry, that was not Robert Miller in 4th. That's the other Miller. Jeremy Miller is currently running P4, and he's not really fallen too far back from the leaders. So that 30 finding some speed late in this race.
Clean Air has definitely benefited that number 30, trying to make out the sponsor. Every time I try to do a little sponsor plug for these guys, I can never make out the sponsor on the vehicle, but whatever that purple Lightning Bolt P Camry is, full marks to him for having a good run. And the other Miller, still mired back in a pack in that 8th spot, really has not gone absolutely anywhere. Dyson and Heitman having a good battle just in front of him, and then Lucas Hoytsma in the Nitro Pepsi car starting to make some noise here in that 9th spot. So again, just a lot of newcomers. Ralph Hutchison, he has been just a non-factor in this race, and he finds himself just behind that in 10th.
And Kevin in chat is saying the Bristol race is going to be the Fast Food City 500, so I'm assuming that'll be a Crown Fool race where everybody will run on themed paint schemes. We do a couple of those. We do the Soda Wars and a couple other races there. So I think we do Beers Point, where everybody runs an alcohol sponsor at Sonoma. So we will be having fast food, I believe, at Bristol.
That was the theme last year. You actually covered that with me on my channel, Andre. We covered that race, and it definitely was food aplenty. So,
all right, check
fun
out
seeing those themed races. As had a little note from the producer there. Graphic on screen for the Noble 5 race, and you can see the special events there because it goes back to the Winston Cup era when they had the Noble 5. You had 5 guys who had a fluorescent orange number and spoiler, and if they won the race, they were eligible for $1 million. I don't think that's in the budget for this series, but there's definitely a prize to subtract about 4 zeros or whatever it is. $100 on the line if one of those eligible drivers wins one of those Noble events, Crown Fool events.
I tell you what, my memory is highly concerning. I don't remember doing the Fast Food City race last year. I barely remember what I had for breakfast. So, boy oh boy, I'm gonna be one of those people that just has no idea what planet they're even on before long. I think so. That'll be the Crown Fool race at Bristol, and again, those other 2 were doing the Noble 5, throwing it back to the Winston, as you said there, Corey. So that'll be fun. Definitely looking forward to those themed races, and going to Concrete Bristol again. Anytime you go there, it's always fun. But then you throw the special theming in, just makes it a little bit better. On top of that, on the track, you're watching a little bit of a battle right behind Jeremy Miller. Dyson and Paget trying to sort out their track position. They're pretty much bumper to bumper. Haven't quite got side by side yet. But Robert Miller is forcing the issue down on that yellow line. He's going to get down to the quarter panel.
Ooh.
Maybe make a move on Paget. He's going to have to go all the way down to the bottom of the Stenhouse straight. And he's going to concede that position. Maybe he's going to have to regroup and try again next time they get to the Stenhouse straight. But I don't know. He may make something happen here through the dogleg. He is trying his hardest. Heading towards 1 and 2 right on the bumper. Can he get down low? No. Paget holding firm on that yellow line. That's exactly what you got to do. And it is going to be 10 to go in the stage, so we're getting down to it. Jonathan Delaney still holding on to the lead of the race, and RJ Root in second place. And they got a pretty comfortable gap, Corey. I mean, from Root back to third place, it is about 2 seconds.
Yeah, and remember the end of stage 1 when Miller was, well, earlier in the stage when Miller was dominating, he was up by 3 seconds, and we had gaps of 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second between everybody, really spread out. But this stage has found everybody staying within closer proximity as we do close in on the end of the stage. About 30 laps in, these guys are currently on their tires. Hoytsma just off screen there, making an attempt to get by Mark Paget there. That's for the 7th spot. So a couple battles going on still in the top 10, and our last stage point will be preliminarily headed towards Brandon Pierce's direction. Again, a comeback kid, if he can hang on to that spot. He does have about a second or so buffer before Ralph Hutchison becomes a threat for him. So good clean run here in the I believe we're deeming this the Dogleg 500 for the 100% Cup Series. 6 cautions, 4 for cause for 22 laps, and 3 leaders, 4 lead changes. Our essential halfway recap, or close enough to it.
Yeah, we're definitely getting close to halfway as we approach lap 180. And
Or actually, are we already past it? And we're past it already. Math is hard.
We're still on. We're still
Yeah.
on 180.
It's, it's
180 times 2 is 360, so we are well past halfway already.
Look, I may or may not have cheated my way through math class, so, can't blame me.
Yeah, and I just didn't pay attention to numbers, because if there's one thing that we are terrible at as broadcasters, it's remembering what the stage is. But I think that's just kind of universal amongst a lot of guys, so I don't take too much dismay in that fact, as we do have some heavy-duty battling on circuit right now. That 22 Alex Murray, he's to the outside, lost a spot to Hoytsma. Hoytsma turning on the proverbial afterburners here in these last few laps. He's up to 5th, and look at him trying to get by Robert Miller. We thought Miller was going to be unstoppable. Well, clearly he's been stopped, because he's up to 4th, but he may go back to 5th as that Pepsi car is closing in on the hot dog ride. So I don't know if they're a Pepsi or Coke vendor, but looks like Pepsi may be winning that battle. But 3 laps to get that last point for Hoytsma.
Again, Hoytsma and Miller teammates, so they've got pretty much the same setup, if not an identical setup. So the pace that Miller had earlier in the race, I think Lucas is finally starting to figure that car out and find that pace for himself, as he is currently running in 5th place, right behind Robert Miller. Dyson holding on strong to that 3rd step on the podium. Pretty comfortable gap as of right now, but with a couple laps left, we'll see if Miller can close the gap. I don't think he's going to have enough time. I mean, he's got to make up a second here. We got 3 to go, 2.5 to go in the stage. Coming down the Stenhouse straight once again, gaggle of cars there, spearheaded by Alex Murray, who's kind of dropped down the running order. Was in 6th. Now it looks like he's going to give up another position back to 7th. And again, we've seen it so many times tonight, Corey, where these drivers with the shorter run speed, they just start to fade right at the end of the stage, and they watch those stage points slip through their fingers. It is not a fun experience as a driver.
I think Murray may have been in the fence there off of 2, as a matter of fact. We're scraping some of the green paint off of that number 22 machine. But yeah, to your point, as we take the white flag lap for the stage, or we take the stage now.
Nope. Something must have happened.
I think we took it about a half lap early, or it came out naturally. No,
the brakes,
Dalton Mobley, it came out naturally. Big spin there off of 2 for the number 77. Will throw the caution out about 15 seconds earlier than scheduled, so not really too big of a alteration of events there, but replay queuing up, and there it is on screen, right in around the ballpark of Bobby Anderson. So he's been right in the middle of all the activity here this evening. There was a little bit of contact between the 77 and the 18 of Trevor Ryan, it appeared.
So Dalton getting a little bit of help, it would seem, on the Stenhouse straight, and The game will deem that to be a yellow flag, so the stage ends just a wee bit early. Jonathan Delaney taking the stage win, RJ Root, Dyson in the 0-4, Robert Miller, Lucas Hoitzma, Derek Heitman, Mark Badgett, Alex Murray in P8. Then you got Jeremy Miller. It's going to be 9th in the stage, and I believe Pierce just barely held on to 10th to get that stage point, staging a bit of a comeback. Now everybody's going to come down pit road, and once John Delaney gets that car serviced, we will pull him down into the booth and see what his thoughts were on stage 2 as we wrap up the 7th caution of the night thus far. Jack Stan goes up on the right, Jack Stan goes up on the left. John, having qualified on pole, does get the final pit box.
First, that was a tight battle to the line, but he just beat him by a whisker there.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of having that final pit stall there, able to just drive straight through and not have to pull out to the side. I think that's what got him the win off pit road. But we're going to pull John in, and I'll tell you what, Corey, I'll hand him to you.
Sounds good. We'll wait for we'll dial up. We got John, you got Corey and Andre up in the booth. You got us, bud?
Yeah, I got you guys. How's it going?
So you've had a good car. We're doing good, Ben. You've had a good car. You've been up front for the vast majority of the race, though you have had some competitors get by. You know, Miller was pulling away by 2-3 seconds, but he got stuck back there in traffic, and it's been kind of clean running for you. Just talk about your night, man.
Yeah, like I said, we've been up front all night. We have decent pace. Robert is very quick. Don't know what he's got underneath the hood of that, but I don't think we'll have anything to compete against that. It's pretty crazy how much he was able to pull away on that long run. It was like 0.2 a lap every lap, and he just kind of figured it out there at that long run. So I don't know. We'll see if we have anything for him. I doubt it, but we'll see. Maybe we can kind of keep the clean air from him and try and hold him off. But,
yeah. How big has that been tonight, man? If you get back 3rd, 4th, 5th in line, how bad has that clean air been? Because we saw him get back there, and he really struggled to get back through the field.
Yeah, dirty air is really bad here. Just having clean air is so crucial to your speed and your tire wear over the course of a run. So, yeah, but dirty air is really bad. Trying to even pass people is really hard and back there. So you just got to try and keep clean air, and I think we'll be all right.
All right, well, you got about 100 and some odd laps to go, man. We'll see if you can put that 6 in victory lane. Good luck.
Thank you.
That was our stage winner, who will have the privilege of starting this race on the inside as the control vehicle. RJ Root will be on the outside. We will say, though, Andre, remember the last restart, or some restart earlier in the night, the lady started on the outside, and he managed to evade penalty and stay with the leader quite well. So we know it is possible, but it is quite tricky. We'll see if RJ Root can do that, do the same here for this coming restart.
Yeah, that will remain to be seen as we pace down the Stenhouse straight once again. Jonathan Delaney going to try to capitalize on that restart ability he seems to have all night long. Down on the bottom lane, green flag flies in the Geico restart zone, and John is going to pull out to about a 5-car length lead, just cutting the dogleg as tight as he can possibly cut it. And Dyson in the 0-4 is going to cut ahead of a few cars and get himself up to second. I believe he passed 2 cars right there. Robert Miller on the high line trying to force the issue, try to gain a few positions, but that high line has proven not to be the place to be so far tonight, so we'll see exactly what happens here. Alex Murray behind these two going too wide and trying to figure out where's his opportunity. Well, it may be right here in the dog leg. We're going to go 3 wide. Miller at the top, Murray at the bottom. We got
behind that, aproning it, that is Hutchison. We've seen it in the real world, doesn't quite work in the simulator world. He drove it all the way down there on the apron, did the A to Hutchison, and the results were not necessarily what he was hoping they would be, but still chugging along in that 11th spot. Underneath Sammy Bury, who has cracked the top 10, and they'll do the dogleg dive there and trying to keep that real estate. See on board here with the number 8, still battling with Bury, but Bury has that outside working to his advantage.
Yeah, he was able to really make that high line work and get around Hutchison there. Again, we've not seen too much success on the high line tonight, so those who can make it work have been able to have a bit of an advantage over everybody else. John pulling away to about a, what is that, 0.6 of a second lead over Dyson. RJ Root holding on to third, Alex Murray fourth. Derek Heitman sneaks up into fifth, and Robert Miller getting trapped on that high line. I said it wasn't the place to be, and it definitely wasn't. He drops back to sixth right in front of his teammate Lucas Hoitzma. They have pretty much single filed out, and they've pretty much got everything sorted out pretty quickly here. So I'll tell you what, as these guys continue to close in on the 200 lap mark, which by the way is well past the halfway mark, for any of the viewers wondering at home, in our amazing math skills. Let's bring the noise once again.
Are hot.
And as we get back from the Bring the Noise, you can see Alex Murray right on the tail end of that number 6. Gonna give him a little bit of a love tap going into turn 1, letting John know he's there and he is ready to try to make this move. Again, up 23 positions from where he started this race. A big mover tonight. And it looks like that 22 has found some pace, Corey. He is just waiting for that 6 to slip up, make a bit of a mistake so he can capitalize.
Yeah, the Toyota versus the Chevy, and tonight the Toyota seems to have the upper hand, but just doesn't have the opportunity to get by. He's faster at the kind of the wrong point on the racetrack. He hasn't been able to get the run off of 2 and then be able to use the back straightaway, the Stenhouse straightaway, I'll say it. That way he can have the inside 3 and 4. He's faster through 3 and 4, but he can't get to the outside through 1 and 2, which is really where he wants to be. So he's kind of just stuck until Delaney makes a chronic mistake, which he's made a couple minor mistakes, but he hasn't quite made a chronic mistake. And He's just kind of staying right on his deck lid for the time being.
Yeah, Murray, I think he knows that there's a sense of urgency here because he doesn't quite have the long run speed that some of these other drivers up front in this lead pack have. So if he's going to get the lead, if he's going to get the clean air, he's got to do it while the car is good. If he waits too long, those tires are going to fade, and then he's not really going to have much of a chance of getting around John or really anybody
on the
else.
speedway.
And we do have a yellow flag once again here on lap 204.
I see Matt
Tracy.
Matt Diciani has instantly removed himself from the race. Rob Tracy in the 7 had some issues on the dog leg, and replay on screen. Try to take a gander at what happened there, and that was definitely some facilitated spinning.
Yeah, just got a little bit of a shot there, a little bit of help.
Devin Medeiros being the facilitator of said spin.
Again, could just be a case, two cars going for the same real estate. Come out of turn 3 and 4 and into the dog leg is a pretty congested area, and a lot of cars just... I'm trying to... I think somebody may have actually incidented out right there.
I think that was Daciani.
Diciani may have incidented out here. Let's take a look.
Yeah, he grazed. He had some, very residual contact there, and then 3 seconds later, the light blinked off, and it has yet to turn itself back into the on position. Therefore, he very well could be out of this race. We don't have any definitive way to know that.
Right,
the back end data doesn't, or do we? I think we're on board with them right now. You can see the contact there. Okay, bye.
Yeah, I think that's pretty definitive evidence. He is the first victim of the incident limit. We do have a lot of drivers down pit road, including our leader, John Delaney, who is just going to barely beat out the 22. We're going to throw it to a short break, and we'll be back to drop the green.
They're hot.
All right, we are back at the Stenhouse Straight. Pace car is going to pull off onto pit road, and the field is once again in the hands of John Delaney. And again, a lot of these drivers did come down pit road, so a lot of fresh tires in the field. I don't really think that many drivers, if any, stayed out, except for to take a wave around. We'll see a couple of drivers take that opportunity, but John was able to win the race off pit road just barely over Alex Murray, and let's see if Murray can maybe work some magic on this restart, do what he couldn't do the first time, get around John, Actually, look at this, Corey. It looks like John, he's going to get a good jump. I was going to say John didn't get as good of a start as he normally does, but then the camera angle changed, and yep, no, he's out to his 6-car length lead.
Yep. I thought Murray got a decent start there. Dyson kind of forced him to run a little bit different line and kind of cost a little bit. You can see in the background Miller taking a little bit of a peek at a 3 wide, thought better of it as there is a gaggle, as in the words of Matt Malone, of vehicles there. 2 3 wide there coming down the dog leg. You can see Jeremy Miller in the bright purple car at the top of a 3 wide on the long shot there, heading into 1 as they funnel down into a more favorable 2 wide. A little bit more sustainable is that than running 3 wide into a flat corner here. But you can see RJ Root in the 45. He was to the inside of Heitman, is no longer, but up front Delaney up by 2/10, and I think, as we said, Murray knows that he's got to get everything he can get while he has that short run car in his advantage, because he doesn't tend to have it once we get 20-30 laps into it. Here he comes off a 2. He has the surge. He's going to pull door to door. He's going to try to side draft him at Phoenix, which doesn't really work. But he's not going to send it into 3. Delaney's going to go really high up the track, and
Caution.
yellow flag again.
Big wreck.
Oh man, a huge incident back in turns 3
Jeremy
and 4.
Miller, he involved, and remember we just talked about him having a great run, but
I believe I just saw somebody get pointed out right there too.
going to replay queued up in just a moment as we try to sort through what stemmed this next cut. Oh, Sammy Bury got into Lucas Hoytsma, as you'll soon see. Blue car on the bottom. And that just kind of did a domino effect.
Oh!
Damn.
Jeremy Miller, let's try it on board. Watch this. I can't tell quite who he got into as he came down the track.
Oh, that was Dustin Hall and Randy Drumhiller as well. Double impact there.
So that 30 car getting quite the beating from the field, and Dustin, unfortunately, taking quite a bit of damage from that as well. Let's go on board with the number 1. See exactly what he saw riding through this chaos. You can see he's just doing his thing in the pack, trying to work his way down the Stenhouse straight. Then goes the plume of smoke. Now at this point you're just trying to be vigilant. Does everything right. He goes down low, but unfortunately Miller unable to get the brakes locked up quite in time.
Yeah, that M on Dustin Hall's hood no longer stands for Martin. It stands for medic, because I think that's what he needs after that impact.
Yeah, he may need a ride to the infield care center via...
Or does he? Because, you know, we are in tank mode. He basically has, like, a little tiny, like, scruff on the right front quarter panel. And the right front fender, rather.
Yeah, you know, these cars could be in hashtag tank mode, even still.
Yeah, there was no notes in our most recent iRacing build about any next-gen damage alterations. I mean, there is a big patch coming on Monday if you're watching this live. So in 2 days' time, that could very well change. But as it stands now, hashtag tank mode existing, which is why we've had at least 2 or 3 guys have incident-related issues thus far in the race.
I'll tell you what, though. Even though that was a very short stint before we got another caution, I liked what I saw out of Murray right there. I said earlier, Murray wasn't being very aggressive, and I think if he wants to win this thing, he's got to have that aggression. He's got to start making some bold moves, and I think finally right there we started to see that impatience bubble up inside of him. He started to get a little bit aggressive. He was side drafting the number 6. He was diving it into the bottom. If he can do that again this restart, I think we may see that 22 be able to take the lead away from John Delaney. But he's got to stay hungry. He's got to stay aggressive. He can't really ride around and just wait for John to make a mistake. I'm not saying that John's perfect and that John's never going to make a mistake, but you know, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. You can't just wait for the other drivers to hand you that position. And sometimes you just got to reach out and take it.
Exactly. Got to grab the bull by the horns, as the metaphor says, as the lights are out on the pace car. And worth noting that Robert Miller, who you heard in John Delaney's stage interview, he has a lot of concern about Miller and his speed, but once he's gotten back in traffic, he's really just become kind of a one of the regular guys. He hasn't really shown that lights out pace, but as he gets closer and closer to the front, he may become more of a threat as
James
we head
Pit
into
Road.
our massive staging here, getting ready for the restart. Chris James has come to the pits here on the one to go lap. He is a lead lap vehicle, so that was an interesting choice. Not sure what that's about, but we do have the restart queuing into the Geico restart zone. Delaney will go earlier in the box there, and he will get that 2-3 car length jump, and we will do the dogleg shuffle.
And man, oh man, every time I see those guys get that close to that wall that's just jetting out from the pit road, makes me a little bit nervous, but they are just cutting it so close.
Cue it up in chat as a poll. Is somebody going to mutilate the pit wall in the dogleg before this race is over?
Well, I'm going to say I don't think they will. I think they have a better chance of having a bit of a parking lot on the Stenhouse Straight where it narrows up. But we'll see. I don't know. You cut it close enough. We definitely in real life saw some drivers cut it a little bit close for comfort last year in the dogleg where that wall sticks out. But here we go. Just like that last stint, the 22 is getting a little bit aggressive with the number 6. He is right on the bumper. And now he has got to do something to make this happen. As we go on board with Alex Murray, he is hugging that yellow line, and I think that is the advantage, Corey. I don't think the number 6 is sliding up in the corners intentionally. I don't think he's trying to open up that bottom for Murray to take. I think the car is just kind of naturally arcing up there. You can see right there, the 6 drifts up a little bit, and Murray's just stuck to that yellow line, and he closes in so much. That 22 is feeling really good on the short run. Here we go, getting the run down Stenhouse Straight, and John's going to concede the position. No side draft necessary. New leader for the first time tonight. It's Alex Murray.
Yeah, Murray is hugging that yellow line like a toddler hugging a teddy bear, and Delaney, he is avoiding it kind of like Taylor Swift to an X. So that's just kind of the differences there. But look at, just as Murray gets in front, he evades the yellow line. So clearly he likes that diamonding effect, but he knows it has the car that is capable of hugging that line when he needs to. So he has that car that can run different lines. That's very good to have, but the $1 million question is, has he made the changes? Does he adjust his style to be able to run in the long run versus 20 laps and falling back?
Well, that definitely could be it. I mean, John may not be firing on all cylinders right now. He could just be taking it easy, and that could be why he conceded the position so easily to Alex Murray when he got alongside. I thought Murray was going to have to side draft him and fight him through turns 3 and 4. No, John just lifted, fell back to second, didn't seem to be all that concerned about it. He could just be trying to keep that car good for the long run, and he probably knows that 22 does not have the best long run pace. We've seen it time and time again. Alex Murray is so fast on these short stints, but then the race goes on, and the tires start to wear, and that 22 starts to fade. So I think John knows that there's a good chance he could come back to him later in the race, and that's kind of a side of John we rarely see, the patient side. Sometimes I question if John has even heard the word patience, but if that's what he's doing, then I guess he has.
I mean, that's just a part of the maturing process. I remember when I first came into this series as a commentator early last year, one of the first things I was told was that Delaney is fast, but he doesn't get along with people. He's known to be aggressive. He's known to make people not be friendly with him, but that is a trait that comes with maturing, and as well as coming with the maturing is just kind of learning the capabilities of your car and not trying to get too much out of it. Maximize what you have and don't try to take what you can't. And I think he's definitely taking heed to that. He knows that, all right, I have a car that will be good 40, 50, 60 laps. It might not fire off. I'll let Murray go out there. I'll let Murray do whatever he wants because I know that I can get him back rather than pushing way too hard, trying to stay with it, and then ruining the whole run.
And that is exactly it, especially because we're in the final stage of the race. And so if you make a mistake now, or if you abuse your car too much and you wear it out and you start conceding positions because of it, yellow flag flies again.
Dustin Hall and Jeremy Miller backwards on the Stenhouse straightaway.
That's not where we want to be in the Stenhouse straightaway.
Out to the outside was Miller. Miller into the wall. Miller bounces off of said wall, and Again, the M stands for medic.
Well, you know what they say, Stenhouse giveth, Stenhouse. That's how tired I am, folks.
The H stands for
Stenhouse
help.
giveth, Stenhouse taketh. Amen.
Well, that comes along with the straightaway is, you know, you get involved in things that aren't of your own doing, and I guess that will be more relevant in 2 weeks' time at Bristol and then at Talladega, because we know that his history at those two circuits. But we're going to have to start considering strategy, my friend, because many of these drivers are 5 sets deep into their Goodyear Eagles. Therefore, most of them have 2 sets to finish this race. We are at a point now where I don't think you're going to finish here. So therefore, you're going to have another pit stop. So do you want to pit now? Doesn't look like many do, as we have our 10th caution of the race. Everyone knows there's going to be one more pit stop required, and they still want to have that strategy set on the wall. So pit road, a very desolate place.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the cautions pretty frequently over the last few laps. We're up to caution number 10 of the night, 8th caution for cause, and I think at that point the drivers just kind of give up on coming down pit road. They don't want to waste their sets of tires, and they're not too concerned about fuel because, like you said, we're pretty much guaranteed another stop to the end. There's no way to make it from here, so they really have no reason to pit. So they're just going to work their way around the track. They're going to go 2 by 2, I believe, next time around. And it's going to be Alex Murray responsible for this restart. We'll see what he's got, if he can get the same kind of jump that John was able to get earlier. But tell you what, hopefully they get back going green and we can get to the checkered flag, because between Stenhouse and Prelevant, we are not doing well as a group right now.
Yeah. Tired because of real life stuff. I'm tired because I'm old and the Division 2 races go past midnight. So both kind of on our end, but I have a caffeinated Mio drink, so that should help me get through the next hour and a half. But worth noting as well, you can make sure you stay tuned to 3Y TV and, of course, my end on PTR TV for Friday nights, because next week we will be headed to the Admin/Atlanta Motor Speedway. And in 2 weeks' time, we will head to the first road course of the season at COTA. Richmond has an early date on the schedule this year, and then in a month's time, we'll be headed to Bristol on the concrete. So that is the next month of action for the 100% series. So make sure you stay tuned. And a lot of different tracks coming up here on the calendar. So we'll see how these drivers do fare as the lights turn out on the pace car, turn off, no longer illuminate. And Delaney is going to be on that outside, which he has not been very often in tonight's race. I think only one restart has he been on that outside lane.
Yeah, it's going to be a completely different experience for him restarting on the outside. It's just a completely different grip level, and of course just trying to time the start. It's bad enough when you're restarting on a straightaway and you're trying to watch the leader's car and listen for when he revs up the engine and time it right, but when you're going through the corner and you have even less visibility to the leader, it's not an easy thing to do to restart on the outside, as we have a huge accordion effect on the inside lane. The 0-4 gets knocked back a few positions. They're going to go 3 wide behind our leaders, almost 4 wide. Jonathan Delaney going to remain in second, but it looks like Robert Miller is going to try to claim the 3rd position up on the high line. This
isn't going to be pretty.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking the same thing if they can sort this out.
Far, they remain 2 by 2. They were 3 by 3, but they did get to a more poultry 2 by 2 formation. But of course, that will fan out here on the dogleg heading into corner number 1. But again, they have managed to get themselves into double file formation. First side-by-side battle, Matt Long in the 97 to the inside of Andrew Dyson. Matt Long hasn't had that pace that I thought he was going to have here this evening, and some contact to Dyson slowed him up just in front of Cam Stone. Now RJ Root using that momentum to the outside in the 45 car. Stone, he's going to take a look to the inside of the dogleg, try to peep a 3 wide. Is he going to sustain it? Answer to that question is a fat yes. Cam Stone trying to get himself into a solid top 10 spot, but RJ Root has that momentum to the outside. Now, who is that? That's Mark Paget behind Stone. And Stone, a big send into 3. He's really driving it in deep into these corners.
Yeah, he's on a mission to gain some track position here, and he is not pulling any punches. Cam, obviously a pretty aggressive driver. If the door is open, he's going to go for it. If gap car. We're going to go on board with Cameron as he tries to navigate his way around the 97 of Matt Long. And one of our webcam drivers. He has gotten away from the OnlyFans foot cam that he was running last season. Now we got the face cam. So we're upgrading slowly but surely. Although I do miss the zip ties. I wish he would get those back in frame. But it looks like he is just kind of stuck in traffic here. The 97 doing a good job holding the zone, running a good pace, and ahead of the 97, Dyson in the 04 holding his lane.
Is racing.
You can see the stack up right there, Corey. It's getting a little bit heated here.
Oh, no, contact
Oh!
in front. He's going to get the boot, and he's going to wash up the track. Root, Paget, Fury, a plethora of cars will go by. So he went from running an 8th to now upwards of the 14th spot, and he's going to send it royally. Post office wash out. He's going to lick the stamp, send it all the way down there. Had to no avail, but at least gets us excited.
I gotta wonder if Cam's not on a mission to get back up to somebody. I couldn't quite see who gave him a tap. I don't know if maybe you did on your end, Corey. But on the onboard, I couldn't quite see.
I will do. Oh, that was the 02 of Paget. He got a little bit of a shot from the 45, but a big of a shot from the 02.
Oh, Cameron into the wall.
So we have activity afoot here from the driver of the 57 machine. That last, I'm trying to take a look here on the, do a little bit more recon. So that last wall contact was him just putting the tires into 120% grip mode when they only have about 80 available to them.
Yeah, definitely kind of overextending their grip, that's for sure. Up front, Jonathan Delaney still trailing Alex Murray. Murray up to about 7/10 of a second lead. Robert Miller on the third step of the podium. He's sitting third right now, and he's about 1.1 seconds back from our leader. And then, this is a familiar face up front, Corey. Hoffman in the 92. He's gotten back up inside the top 5, and I'm curious to see if this stays green, where he winds up, because he had such good long run speed early in this race, and now it seems like he's starting to find that pace again. He's not far behind Miller, seems to be closing in just a little bit. That 92 could be coming to life.
Yeah, just depends if, setup changes, driver style changes. I mean, has he figured out how to maximize the run in that number 92? Because we saw him be lights out and then fall off a cliff and really never recover. But this is later in the run for him to still have speed, and not just have speed, perhaps have more speed than his competitors, as he just ahead Robert Miller, who has the highest he has been since that very awkward pit sequence that threw him back there in the 8th spot. He's closing in on Delaney, as this is all about a second behind Alex Murray here, as we just kind of scroll through and just trying to find some action here on my end here, and having some stuff to talk about. Bobby Anderson, I'm going all the way back to 17. Sean O'Brien Jr. I don't think we've talked about him at all here tonight. He's always one that finds himself in the top 10 from time to time through strategy in that 24 car, but back to 18, probably one of the quieter runs here on the evening for Sean O'Brien. Bobby Anderson still struggling to have a solid, consistent night in that number 5 car. Scrolling back through the field, Brandon Pierce, remember he's had many an incident. He's back in 19th, just trying to show some love to the guys to the back end of the field that we really haven't talked about too much today.
Yeah, and going back to Sean O'Brien Jr., Phoenix really is one of those tracks where I feel like you either have it here or you don't. You could be a really good driver, but if this track doesn't mesh with you, you're just not quite going to have the pace. And Sean, he's a good driver, like you said, generally finds himself inside the top 10. This track just maybe doesn't quite suit him, and the same could be said for a lot of these guys that are a little bit further back than we would normally expect. Even Cameron Stone, to extent, just really struggling to stay in the top 10 and now falling outside of the top 10. Cam, he's generally a top 10 driver, and he's struggling here. So it is a very tough track. It requires a very specific type of skill set And I think the added challenge of shifting just increased that. I think right now it's almost requiring the same skill set that a road course would require. You've got to be good at trail braking. You got to be good at applying those brakes smoothly and rolling into the accelerator. And you got to know exactly when to shift, because when you do shift, that is obviously going to affect the rotation of the car. If you're not careful, you could spin yourself out on a downshift, or you could bog your engine down on the upshift. So you've got to be focusing on all these things at once, and it is definitely one of the more challenging tracks on the circuit. Even though it may not look it, these guys are making it look easy. Just making a lap around this track is quite a handful.
Yeah, something that I would not be surprised if NASCAR does have some modifications to in the future is trying to limit the gearing. And that was one thing I know Kevin Harvick, who's kind of the new quote-unquote mayor of the garage, he says that we need to stop shifting on short tracks, which Phoenix does quantify as a short track in the grand scheme of things. We need to get rid of it from the racing to make things better, as a caution comes out just as Miller was trying to get by Delaney there.
Every time.
And saw some smoke. That is Devin Medeiros. Had a little bit of a kerfuffle off turn number 2. Off of the Kellogg.
Second time tonight for the Kellogg's, I believe.
Kellogg's has been in the mix of a lot of stuff here tonight.
You can call him Neo because he was just run over by Mr. Anderson.
If that was an inside joke, it went over my head.
Yeah, Carlos, give me. I deserve that one. I deserve that one.
Hold on. Delayed, but it'll still happen.
Yeah, I deserve that one. Well, on that note, we got a few drivers coming down pit road. We're going to marinate on that terrible Matrix joke. And we're going to go to a short break, and we'll be back for the drop of the green.
We're ready.
All right, so development that you saw on screen while us in the booth were kind of lollygagging is that The number 38 rocketed to the front of the field on pit road. How did he do it? Well, he didn't take tires. So we've got a car at the front of the field on old tires. It's going to be presumably restarting in the middle of the turn in the Geico restart zone. I foresee no way that this could go awry. Jonathan Delaney on the high line, right in front of Robert Miller, and Alex Murray, who was leading the way before this caution. He's going to be on the inside of row number 2. And despite the old tires, it looks like Brandon Pierce gets a good jump.
But he has to turn. That is where things will go astray. As you can see, Delaney going to the top, and Murray trying to squeeze room for 3 wide. He does it. He drives down to the apron. Delaney's going to take full advantage of that. Go to P1. Miller stuck behind Pierce there off of 2. That's not ideal for him. He's trying to get that track position back, not lose it. Now they're going to squeeze Pierce. There we go. We're done.
A ton of net code. And
that is the big one. From my perspective, we'll get a better replay of it, Andre. That didn't look like netcode from my client side view, but we all know how unreliable that could be. So we'll get it queued up here. Well, actually, maybe it was, but we'll get it queued up and we'll discuss it together.
Yeah. So to me, it definitely looked like it. They're going to go 3 wide here, and the initial bump,
yep, there it is.
Yeah, the initial bump that sent Miller into Brandon Pierce, that looked like a little bit of net code. We're going to take another look at it here.
It was the 92. He either had a wiggle or it was the net code that either wiggled and the sim over exaggerated it, or it was just kind of net code throwing him up into the 15. But either way, they were all so close quarters that there was no room to deal with that little bit of a miscalculation, if you will.
Yeah, definitely not much room for error.
It was either netcode or the 15 and the car underneath him both overcorrected at the same time.
I definitely think that the 92 and the 15 would have made contact either way.
Yeah.
Even without netcode, but unfortunately Pierce was just there. And because it was a restart, Matt Long, RJ Root, I think Stone may have gotten some damage in that as well. So
yeah, Stone's in power.
I was just looking at my, while I was analyzing that from my blimp cam, I will also state that this track is absolutely inundated with marbles, by the way. So these guys going 3 wide offline on these restarts, there may be some grip loss there by getting into the loose stuff here in these outer lines as well.
There absolutely is. It can get really loose on the higher lanes, as we see Cameron Stone getting his car fixed up. You mentioned he was kind of involved in that incident, got tagged a time or 2, accrued some damage that he now has to get fixed up. And as Carlos just pointed out, no tires to this 57. The jack stand will not go up, and no Coors Light in his hand either. So that's how you know he's serious.
Oh, is he?
Oh, was that a vape?
We got him, ladies and gentlemen. We got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That's illegal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's just funny. He is chilled up and ready to go.
Vibing right now.
He's vibing, or he's decompressing after a hectic night, and that is exactly what he is doing. That is precisely what he is doing.
That's what he's thinking about. What he wants to do right now.
Getting back on circuit, and he's still on the lead lap through all of this kerfuffling on circuit. We have 31 drivers still on the lead lap, and we have 33 guys who are still actively on the track. So basically, unless you are Neil Pearson or Kyle Ammon, you are on track. You are on the lead lap right now. So one mistake takes you all the way back into no man's land, and it's only a matter of time, Andre. We are going to start seeing cars flash out like Christmas trees in these next 70 laps, because so many of these guys have to be right on that bubble.
I would agree. There's got to be a lot of drivers that are getting close at this point. I also want to point out, interestingly enough, even though Robert Miller was, to my eyes, the catalyst for that caution, the game has decided that it is not such. He is actually going to be restarting in 4th. So I don't know if another car was considered the cause of the caution and was sent to the tail end of the field, but Robert kind of lucking out. As long as he doesn't have too much damage, he may still be in it to compete, but they're going to work their way through the corner. and it looks like our leader, Jonathan Delaney, is going to do what he's been doing all night long, cutting that dog leg as close as he humanly can. And behind him, they are going to be scrambling for position. We got 3 wide a little bit further back. I believe that's Root going 3 wide with a few drivers. So these guys getting a little bit antsy here late in the race, Corey.
Yeah, Root was in a sandwich with Dyson to the outside, and it looks like he may be in a sandwich as well. Long was in that wreck. You can see he has some right front damage to that number 97 Ford, but still has pace to at least contend in the top 10 for the time being. Big dive by Long there into the corner. As you can see, Delaney pulling away by about half a second on Hoffman, coming off of 2 and down the Stenhouse straightaway. Big move to the inside by Heitman there. I think that was a block.
I think he might have actually got a little loose off the bumper of somebody and kind of veered down there.
A erratic move in one capacity or another, but he is in close quarters. Patrick Gitter, who we haven't talked about him too much in the second half of this race, is starting to make his presence known as Paget, nearly into the back bumper there of Heitman off of 2. And also worth noting, I think Heitman, oh, never mind. His car says 76, but from a close glance, it looks like 26. So I thought he was going to get a penalty, but just a very odd font on that number 76. But either way, still in that battle for the 9th spot.
Yeah, it's a battle all over the track. These guys are really not relenting. Looks like Robert Miller may have some substantial damage from that incident as he is falling back through the running order. It looks like RJ Root is going to make the move for 4th, and it's not going to take much to get around him. And a few more drivers stacking up behind Robert Miller. Meanwhile, the race for the lead is on Alex Murray, Hoffman, Delaney. These 3 drivers have been pretty much class of the field all night long. And now it is just the 3 of them pulling away from the rest of the field. RJ Root about a second behind, not quite in position to strike. So these 3 leaders are going to have to settle it the old-fashioned way. Murray getting a good run through 3 and 4, going to close in on the bumper of Hoffman. But again, remember, it's the short run speed for Murray. That's what has really been helping him all night long. But these other drivers, John Delaney, Hoffman, these guys have a long run speed, so Murray's got to make a move quick if he wants to make one at all.
And I have to do it. I got to bust out my calculator, quoting Larry Mack. So we pitted about 14 laps ago. We are on lap 260. So that would mean we pitted about lap 246. 312 laps. That means a 66 lap run to the end. That is well within the realm of doability for these guys. So they may not feel comfortable on the tires as Murray gets into P2, but they can make it on this fuel load to the end. So it's a long run. You got to save those tires. You know the fuel's going to get there, but we haven't gone this far on tires yet in the race.
Yeah, it is kind of an unknown for these guys, like how exactly the car is going to handle on tires that old. Generally, the tires will plateau past a certain point, but I mean, if you wear them down far enough, generally to the point where the spotter starts telling you that your tires are wearing, they kind of degrade even beyond that. So that's definitely possible. It could happen depending on if this stays green. Obviously, the trends of the race have been that we've been getting cautions fairly frequently, so I can't imagine that this is going to stay green all the way to the end. We do have about 51 laps remaining. But who knows? I've seen crazier things. If they are able to keep it clean and green, it's just going to be an added challenge for these guys. But Alex Murray, he was able to make the move on Hoffman. Hoffman falling back a little ways now. And now Murray is he's in a very familiar scenario, Corey. He's got that 6 right in front of him. He's done it before. He's made this pass. He knows that he can do it. Can he do it again?
He's stalking his prey, and he is just trying to conjure a way to attack as they come off onto the Stenhouse straightaway. I'm setting it. That's the best English that the language can possibly provide. But coming off, taking another lap. This is the position he was in before. He wants to be on the outside here through 1 and 2, but he can't get the spot. He is faster through 3 and 4, but it's harder to make the pass there. So he's kind of in that position. He's waiting for Delaney to make as I said earlier, a chronic mistake because when he only makes the small mistakes, it's not enough for him to be able to make that pass.
Yeah, 3 and 4, just not a great passing zone. We talked about it at the top of the broadcast. 1 and 2 is very much a multi-groove corner. You can run high, you can run low. Provides a lot of opportunity to make a pass. 3 and 4, on the other hand, not so much. You've got to be down on that painted yellow line. If you're anything above that, you're going to be in those marbles that Corey pointed out from the blimp cam earlier. And the car is not going to handle right. You've got to be down low. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You're not going to make a pass up high, and you can't really go down on the apron to make an ultra low pass like you can in 1 and 2. You just have to run that one very specific racing line. So if you're Alex Murray and you're a little bit quicker through that turn than John, well, unless John slides up the track, it doesn't really matter that you're faster there. You have to wait for that mistake. And 1 and 2, I apologize again. I will never get those corners correct, never since they reconfigured this track. But 1 and 2 is definitely the preferred passing zone, and luckily for John at the moment, he seems to have some pretty good pace there.
Yeah, he does. It kind of reminds me, as we talked about this kind of being a road course of sorts, it kind of acting like it. Well, there's a lot of times on road courses you'll be faster than another driver through the worst segment of the track, because it's a segment of the track that's a one-line corner. Maybe it's a set of S's going into a chicane or something like that, where you just cannot make a pass there. But that is where you make time, and that's kind of what Murray is doing. He's faster in the wrong spot, and he's equal in the spot where he needs to be better. It's just, that's things as a driver where you need to figure out, all right, Delaney is better than me through 3 and 4. What is he doing that I'm not? How could I adjust what I'm doing, if possible, to kind of switch around or just make myself better where I need to be? That's kind of what Murray is doing, but all the while, try to preserve the tires, all the while trying to make the time up, knowing that he doesn't have a long run car. So a lot of things to calculate as a driver, but it does look like Delaney's starting to stretch it out just a hair. Last time by about a tenth faster, and now we're seeing it go from 2/10 to 3/10 to nearly a half second.
Yeah, I think that short run speed that Murray has is finally starting to dissipate, and unfortunately he wasn't quite able to get around John before that happened. So now he's got to worry about falling back into the clutches of Hoffman, Root, Long. These guys are all in a 3-car gaggle back here, and they are looking to improve their running position if they can. And that 22 is looking like a prime target if he continues to just slip off pace. John is definitely, I think, getting better on the long run throughout the course of this race. At the start of the race, it was really good short run speed for that number 6, and he kind of fell off on the longer run in stage 1. And you mentioned it, Corey. It seemed like he'd started to take it a little bit easier, like he may be conserving and changing his driving style to account for the longer runs. And I think he was not only doing it, but he was doing it well, because this long run pace is definitely nothing to scoff at right now.
Yeah, he represents Queens. He was raised out in Brooklyn. Nobody else is going to get that quote. But John Delaney currently has led, and just showing to his dominance, 172. So all but 100 of the circuits that we have run today have been led by that number 6 car. Again, just showing that John Delaney dominance, Delaney doing Delaney things. Haven't said that line really this season, but this race has definitely worked in his favor. And it's a race that, to be honest, Andre, it's hard to say that he's really been the best car, because there are guys out there that I feel have cars comparable to him, but he has done the best job of staying consistent, keeping his car up front. When he wasn't up front, he got through the field better than everybody else. He's just putting himself in that better position. And when you have someone like Robert Miller, who got himself in a bad position, wasn't able to kind of undo the damage. Matt Long wasn't able to get that clean air that he needed. Derek Heitman was up there. He fell back. So it's like all these guys that have been showing that they might have the pace just haven't been as consistent, and, made a couple mistakes here and there that put them in that dirty air.
Yeah, it's really hard to say that anybody has had the fastest car of the night. We've seen the lead get swapped around here and there. Like you said, John Delaney led 170 some odd laps, so only 100 laps were left to be led by other drivers. But we've seen Alex Murray lead, we've seen Hoffman lead, we've even seen Root lead at one point, I think, during a pit sequence. So these drivers, they've been really close in pace all night long. We're 275 laps into this race, and yes, we've had some cautions to bunch the field up, but still, our top 10 is separated by 4 seconds. So these guys are all very similar in pace, and it just seems like their cars are stronger at different points in the run, and that's when we see them start to come together and fall apart here and there. But Delaney had the foresight earlier in the event to kind of see, hey, long run speed is going to be very important, so I'm going to work on the driving style, take it a little bit easier, work on conserving the car, and so far it's worked out. But he's kind of stopped extending his lead. It kind of stalled out at about 7 to 8 tenths of a second. Hoffman and Root and all of them are starting to sort of stagnate, I would say, in terms of timing and scoring. They're just staying about the same distance back.
Look at Hoffman here. He's showing that newfound long run pace, and he's getting to the outside of Murray off of 2 down the back, and he's gonna, if he could keep the position on the outside through 3 and 4, which looks like he's going to be able to do it. So that is a new move. They're going to have to split Cam Stone, I believe, here. So tight quarters racing just for a little bit, but move that 92 up to P2 here, as it looks like Alex Murray is going to be in a precarious position with Root, who slightly doored him there. Now Matt Long, he's in a position, well, how do I take advantage of this? Root trying to figure out, should I attack or should I try to get back in line? Now Long to the outside of the track, and it looks like that outside starting to work a little bit better through 3 and 4, which is going to facilitate the passing down in 1 and 2 as well.
And we kind of expected the outside to get a little bit better as the day went on. Of course, these drivers running up there, they're laying down rubber, they're giving it just a little bit more grip naturally. And I would also suspect that the track temp has gone down, and it has actually. At the beginning of the race, the track temp was 101 degrees. Now we're down to 96, and yeah, that's only a difference of 5 degrees, but I think you can attest to this, Corey. On iRacing, 5-degree track temp changes can be all the difference in the world, so they're probably feeling a little bit more grip up top and a little bit more confident.
Yeah, very much the case, and we don't really have much in the way of shade to talk about here at Phoenix, just due to the time, and very hard to show here. I really wish that, just the nature of YouTube and bit rates and all that fun stuff. Andre, I don't know if on your client side you can see this. This track is littered with rubber. It looks as though they've left the marbles on this track for like 5 races in a row and just never touched the track. And this place is just absolutely inundated with marbles here. Those Goodyear Eagles really starting to shred. You can see Carlos using some very finite telestrating skills there, so it'll show us those marbles on screen, but definitely don't want to get too high, because that will take that grip that you are adding and taking it right away, as here comes Matt Long with a look to the inside of Alex Murray, but it may backfire, because I think Root tried to look to the outside, but Matt shut the door.
Yeah, that overtake was definitely foiled when that door closed, and so 22 is going to live to fight another day in 3rd. Meanwhile, ahead of him, Hoffman trying to run down our leader from about 1.2 seconds back. Matt Long taking another swing at it, though. He's going to go down to the bottom of 3 and 4. He's going to get the nose on the number 22, but it's not quite going to be enough, not yet at least. 22 holding strong on that higher side. Now again, 1 and 2, you can run up here, and Alex Murray has done it before, so he shouldn't lose too much time. Got Robert Miller behind these guys watching this battle transpire. I kind of theorized earlier that he had some pretty good damage from that incident, didn't quite have the pace he had beforehand, but who knows?
Root threading the needle, full sending it into 3 there, backfired, as that's Miller trying to go for the crossover, so Root was going for a move there and ended up costing him a spot and about a half second in the process.
Yeah, again, you come through the dog leg, sometimes you expect certain drivers to be in certain places, and I think Root was kind of expecting Miller to move along with him, and it just didn't quite happen. So it came together. Luckily, nobody spun out or wrecked. It was really no harm, no foul, other than a little bit of time lost.
Root's hope was gone. He had to move along like we know he does, and he's back to that 6th position. But there they are, door to door, Miller and Murray side by side, and Miller, he thought he had damage and he would start falling, but he has kind of recouped himself and put the parachute on and put the rocket booster back on, starting to work his way back up. I don't think he's going to get too much higher, but he has potential to get up to second if Hoffman starts to fall. So that is on the docket as a potential outcome. But Delaney has, again, Delaney doing Delaney things, up by a second and a third here as this race, this is hard math. I'm not even going to try to say how many laps to go, but there's not a lot left here in the Dogleg 500K.
Definitely coming down to it, that's for sure. Lap 286 out of 312, so not a whole lot of time left on the clock for these guys to get the job done. John Delaney working his way around Damar Hickenbottom, a lapped car, and continuing to lead the way, but it looks like Hoffman may actually be closing in little by little. It is now a 1.4 second gap. It could have been just getting around that lapped car that hindered John a little bit, because you can see a lot of red for Hoffman, and that last lap where John was in traffic, he gained just a little bit. So we'll see how it evens out as they cross the line this time. Who was faster, who was slower? John pulling away a little bit that time by. So his long run speed even rivaling Hoffman's, who really seemed to be the best long run speed in the field earlier tonight. Now John's going to be able to top even that, it would seem.
So just have to go into reverse. And for those who stay tuned to the Division II race last night, John Delaney, Matt Long was basically your John Delaney. Matt Long up by 3.5 seconds, basically engraving the trophy with about 20 laps to go. We thought he had it. And then what happened with about a lap and a half to go? We had a caution. We had pit strategy. We had guys who had tires, guys who didn't have tires. A huge shakeup, ended up using all 3 available green-white checkers. Eventually, Long did persevere and still take the checkered flag, but it was not without a significant battle that he had to go under. So, well, thank God the ticker has turned over, so now it's 24 laps to go. I don't have to do math anymore. So even though this race seems like it's kind of in its, let's just finish it out, that caution could rear its ugly head at any time, and as looks like a cloud has come over the Phoenix Raceway.
Yeah, not often you see this much overcast here at Phoenix, that's for certain. But it is, it's like the whole track just got completely shaded in overcast, which, one corner or 2 corners, I've seen that at Phoenix, but this is kind of an anomaly to have this much overcast, and I'm sure it's going to have quite the impact on the track temp, which is a bit of a wild card if this overcast stays. We'll see how long the track is covered in this shade, but Delaney up to a 2-second lead. Hoffman is just trailing back in second. Robert Miller has worked his way up into third. He was able to make the move on Matt Long, and now he's got about 2.8 seconds up the road to our leader and 21 seconds to try to close that gap. But here's the thing, Corey. I think John has an advantage that a lot of these guys in this lead pack don't have. That's John's got a clean car, right? Hoffman was involved in an incident earlier. Robert Miller, we saw him get clobbered by a few guys. Matt Long, of course, involved in that incident with Robert Miller. RJ Root also involved in that incident. These guys all have damage, and yes, these cars are in #tank mode, but the damage still does affect the handling. It does affect the pace, and John's really the only guy up here with a completely clean car.
And that goes to the point that I had mentioned prior, where he has kept himself in the positions where getting in those incidents are much lower. Again, Miller got himself in traffic, and Hoffman, I don't think he's had really any incidents, but he's definitely been in some more battles than Delaney has. And you can just go down the top 10 and just who has not had any incidents here in the race. The amount of drivers is quite low, but Delaney really, I don't think, has been lower than 4th or 5th, maybe at the absolute worst in this race. He's been in clean air or relative clean air the entire time, really hasn't seen a puff of smoke that he had to avoid. That just goes to show he has put himself in the position to have that blessing of a clean car and very likely a low or non-existent incident count.
We got a battle for second place. Robert Miller, I think, just took it away from Hoffman. They were side by side for about a lap or so, and then Miller was able to get clear just barely. Hoffman still on his bumper. But now all that battling has allowed John to pull away even further. So it's 3.2 seconds from first to second. John Delaney with nearly an entire Stenhouse straightaway lead over Robert Miller and Hoffman. Now, Miller is pulling away from Hoffman. He's definitely got one of the faster cars in the field. I don't know as though he's faster than John, at least for the time being. With only 17 laps to go. Even if he was a little bit faster, he would have to be substantially quicker, and he's not. There's the timing and scoring right there. Robert Miller continually just a few thousandths slower than Delaney. So that number 6 car right now, he is the man to beat.
Yeah, that number 6 car is the man to beat. I'll tell you, Alex Murray is in Alicia Keys mode right now because he keeps on falling back to the 8th spot. Remember, we talked about him trying to go for the win. He is just dropping back through the field. He may even drop out of the top 10 before this thing is over. So the comers and goers. Of course, Murray was one of those drivers who led some laps, 27 laps he has led, but again, he's going to struggle to finish in the top 10 here this evening, and other positions that may change. Clayton Hoffman, he may drop back if RJ Root can pick up the speed here. So Matt Long looks like he has got by Hoffman. He's got up into 3rd. So in all honesty, Andre, the top 3 is the top 3 that I kind of expected, but it just did not turn out in the manner we thought. I thought these guys would be battling each other, and if we have a caution and all these guys have a set of tires on the wall, this would be an absolute barn burner of a finish. But the top 3 is not a very big surprise, but the gaps in between may be.
So I think this may be the first lap. Yeah, I was going to say this is the first lap in a while that Robert Miller was actually quicker, but unfortunately for Robert, it was only 0.08 of a second, which is not going to be enough if he wants to get 3 seconds up the road in only 14 laps. You have to be a little bit quicker than that, and I think John actually stabilizes the lap times this time by. Should be about even in terms of lap time if the scoring on the left-hand side is to be believed. And as Miller crosses the line, yeah, he's about 0.04 of a second quicker, so maybe that long-run speed's starting to fade for John Corey, but I don't think at this point that it really matters if he manages the pace that he's got now. He can let Robert be a little bit quicker per lap, and he's still not going to have enough time to get there.
Well, let's go back and dial the clock back to the real-life NASCAR Cup race at Las Vegas. Kyle Larson had it in the bag. He was up by 5 seconds during the last stint, and the lead started to shrink down up until the last caution. Shrunk down to almost 2 seconds, and he probably would have won the race if it stayed green, but the lead would have deteriorated as the car started to go away. May happen here this evening. Delaney up by 3 seconds. I don't know if he'll win by 3 seconds if that is what the outcome desires, but I definitely don't think, barring a caution or a significant mistake, that Miller is going to cut a worthwhile gap into that lead. So Delaney just needs to be patient, just trying to look at the racetrack ahead of him. He only has a couple cars that'll probably catch, about 10 or so seconds ahead of him. He does have some serious traffic he'd have to contend with, but I don't think in the course of 10 laps that should come into a factor.
Yeah, and if he does get into that traffic, he's just got to make sure that he takes his time. He's got a big lead, so there's no need to rush to get around these guys, and really he can just kind of take his time, work his way through the field, and even if Miller closes in a little bit here and there, no big deal. 3 seconds is quite substantial here at Phoenix. He's just got to hope that it stays green. If we get a caution, that changes things quite a bit. Like, obviously, John has been really good on the restart, so even then, he's still got a pretty good shot at it. But you never know. Don't want to count your eggs before they hatch. And with 9 to go, John's still out to about a 2.8 second lead over Miller. So Miller actually gaining a little bit as John gets into traffic. But again, only 9 to go.
If a caution came out, Andre, we still have about probably 20 guys that have tires on the wall. We would see some staying out. We would see some 2 tires. That would be a very interesting course of events. And as a commentator, I kind of want to see it, but also as a commentator, I don't want to see it because I do like seeing these things play out naturally. As he really, Delaney gets stopped there, essentially in the center of the corner by the 7th car of Rob Tracy. Had to catch myself there from the normality of it. Actually split the lappers 3 wide for a brief moment, so that will eat significantly into the lead. 3 seconds immediately turns into 2. Now, 2 seconds in 7 laps, that is still a Herculean feat to overcome, but a lot of his buffer has been deteriorated.
One thing to keep in mind, too, is that while these lappers are cutting into John's lead a little bit, Robert Miller's going to have to go through these guys, too. Once he gets up to him, he's going to have to make these same passes, and I'm sure they're not going to put up too much of a fight for Robert, but just the act of changing your line and working your way around this traffic is going to slow you down. So it should really equalize once he gets there. John shouldn't have too much to worry about, as it is 6 to go now. Matt Long, a little ways behind Robert Miller, about 4.5 seconds behind the leader, and about 2 seconds behind Robert Miller. Derek Heitman currently running 4th. Lucas Hoytsma, that's Robert's teammate, he's running P6. And Hoffman, who was running 2nd for the longest time, he slipped all the way down to 6th in the running order.
The left there of longevity definitely showing its ugly head here. I was intently watching that battle with Hoytsma and Hoffman and company, because they were racing very tight, and if there was going to be a caution, it was likely going to stem out of that little 5-6 car group of vehicles, but it has since kind of spaced itself out naturally. And again, just looking at the ticker up front, gap still stabilized out around that 2 seconds, so nothing really to note there. It seems like that will kind of be how we are going to write the story here on the evening for the 100% Cup Series round number 4 at the Phoenix Raceway. We'll end up with 12 cautions for 45 laps, 5 leaders, only 8 lead changes, so not in that aspect of the lead change is a very competitive race, but that just, some of them are like that. Sometimes you just have guys who would just go out there and absolutely just, drive off, and they make NASCAR want to make rule changes because they stink up the show. That's kind of what happens sometimes, and John Delaney, being our 2022 champion, who won many a race in 2022, trying to pick up where he left off and just start the domination for 2023 as we take 2 laps to go. Can we hit the white? We didn't hit it last night without issue, but can he go 1 more mile and seal the white flag in?
So in the bottom of your through-wide TV multicam, you just watched Lucas Hoytsma make 2 passes, so he went from 6th up to 4th. Not a bad late race gain. That's definitely going to help him out in the points picture a little bit, but Robert Miller's still 2.3 seconds back. All John's got to do to make this thing official is get to that white flag, like you said, and from there, no matter what happens, the race is official. Robert Anderson trying to get to the high line here, not quite going to be able to complete that move, but the white flag is in the air for John Delaney. 2-second lead. He's got no pressure, no reason to overdrive this thing. All he's got to do is make a parade lap around this track. If the caution comes out, race is over. If he makes it to the checkered flag, race is over. No worries behind the wheel of that number 6. And as he works his way down the Stenhouse straightaway for the final time, he'll dive it through 3 and 4, what used to be 1 and 2. And it is John Delaney taking this, what I believe to be his first win of the season, the dog leg 500 here at Phoenix.
Just absolute domination by the 6, doing exactly what he did last year and getting the first win of his 2023 campaign, locking the playoff card. Not that there was any doubt that he was going to make the playoffs. Well, now he has that playoff point, well, that multiple playoff points, as well as that guaranteed lock into the playoffs. So he's going to take it down that straightaway, into 3 and 4 here. We do know that Phoenix actually has the accessible victory lane here on the infield, so he can burn it down, he can take it to victory lane, he can choose to do whatever he wants to do because he is the victor. Of course, Miller, Long, Hoytsma, and Heitman being our top 5 on the evening.
And John is going to burn it down. He's going to go down to that inside wall, do some burnouts, and celebrate his first win of the season in dominating fashion. Again, well over 100 laps led on his way to this checkered flag. Can't say he didn't earn it. That is for certain.
213 was the final take.
Not a bad chunk of laps in a 312 lap race at all. And again, it's kind of interesting too that at the beginning of the race he had like a completely different driving style. He was driving really hard, really aggressive, had short run speed. But then he realized, all right, I think long run speed is going to be the ticket. He adjusted his driving style, maybe made some tire pressure adjustments, whatever it may be, and he found out what he needed to do in order to win this thing, and he made it happen. So let's quickly go over our final race results before we get our interviews lined up for the night, so you can see where your favorite driver wound up. John Delaney taking the win. Robert Miller with a pretty valiant effort after his wreck. He's going to finish second place. Matt Long in P3, so he's going to win D2 and finish on the podium here in the full-length race. Lucas Hoitzma is in P4. Derek Heitman is going to round out your top 5. 6 and 7 go to Dyson and Hoffman. RJ Root and Alex Murray are going to make up 8 and 9. And rounding out your top 10 is going to be Patrick Gitter.
And Mark Paget, Jason Baker, a quiet night in that 12th spot. Bobby Anderson in 13th. Very chaotic race for him, but Jim Schofield, our rookie of the rookie standings leader, he finished in 14th. We'll see if that still stands afterwards. Sammy Bieri 15th. Jason Taylor 16th. Trevor Ryan, Chad Sander, Devin Medeiros, and Wayne Grassi rounding out our top 20.
And looking just outside the top 20, we got Sean O'Brien Jr., Randy Drumhammer, Chris James, John Broussard. We got Tanner Marty, Alex Princeton, Brandon Pierce after a up and down night. It's going to bring it home P27. We've got Rob Tracy 28th, Dustin Hall, another up and down night. Well, mostly down. He got involved in quite a few incidents, unfortunately. Brings that number 1 car home in 29th. And rounding out the top 30, Mars Higginbottom.
And then rounding out the caboose here tonight, Cam Stone, our webcam driver. You saw the day he had. 32nd is the Aussie Neil Pearson. Kyle Ammon, 33rd. Jeremy Miller, 34th. Ralph Hutchison, 35th. Matt DeCiani, 36th. And then rounding out the field, Dalton Mobley, Adam Benefiel, Boyd Hogan, and then Alexander Vandesant, shotgun on position number 40. But that is our starting lineup. No, it is not our starting lineup. It's our race results here. It shows someone needs to go to bed. But before we go to bed, we have to go do our post-race show. Delaney in the actual victory lane here at the Phoenix Raceway, and Andre has caught up with him.
John Delaney, you got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Well, John, that was a well-deserved win. Over 200 laps led on your way to victory lane, and you really showed him how it was done. Once you got out to the lead, you rarely looked back. You had really great long-run speed, it would seem. Obviously, you won the championship here last year and came back looking for another win.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I'm sweating. That was definitely hard-fought win for sure. A lot of guys had some really good speed. We made a last caution there. We made a pit adjustment and really helped the car. I was just battling tight and loose off all night and made a good adjustment, and that pretty much fixed all of our issues, and we were able just to kind of just sail away and get the win. So yeah, that was a fun one for sure.
Definitely looked fun. It seemed like passing wasn't impossible. You know, we saw a few overtakes, and actually at one point when you took the lead, I believe it was in stage 2, you had made a pass on the high side, which was something we did not see very much of tonight. What was the actual racing like when you got side by side with the competition?
You know, it gets pretty dicey, because you know, depending on if you're high or low, you know, obviously the guy on the low side is obviously most likely going to wash up the track, because that's just how the track is. It's a very flat track, so you got to kind of take an account for that. But then the guy on top, you kind of want to pinch the guy on the bottom to try and keep them down on the bottom and kind of just not allow them to get momentum. So it's kind of, you got to have a lot of respect for people when you're going side by side with each other, and you just got to try and manage the tires as best as well when you're side by side. Usually the person that can get the good run off is the person that's going to get the spot, and I was able to get a pretty decent run off of turn 2 when I did get the lead for that spot. So but no, it gets pretty dicey. You know, this track is it's a weird one compared to the other short tracks. So very wide and very flat. So it's interesting in its own way, but you just got to learn and know how to make those passes, which, you know, can be hard to make. So
Yeah, definitely looked difficult out there at times. Obviously, this win is going to lock you into the playoffs. Are you already kind of looking forward to the playoffs and thinking about what you're going to do when we get there in the season, or are you just kind of more living in the here and now?
Well, I mean, I kind of knew I was going to be in playoffs regardless, but
Okay, John. Well, we all knew it, but we got to pretend like we didn't, okay?
you know, I think, I don't know if the playoff races has changed any bit this year or not, but I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be pretty tough making it to the Final Four, and you know it's going to be a long journey to even make it there. So I think if we can kind of rack up some playoff points by getting stage wins and winning races, that's going to help a lot when it does come to playoffs, because you can have a bad week or two. Like I had 2 bad weeks to start off the year, and you know, if you have those in the playoffs and you can't rebound back, it can be pretty bad for your points in the playoff, and you won't be able to make it to the next round.
Before we let you off the hook, John, is there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Oh yeah, so everyone at Lockdown Racing, and then all the guys at Apex Racing as well. Had fun racing with those guys and all the week. They're a blast. Coney Setup Shop, Stint Analyzer, Sparko, Susan Media, all the sponsors, thank you. Thank you guys in the booth for broadcasting. The admins, everyone who raced tonight, was a blast. Yeah, that's it.
All right, John. Well, congratulations on the win, and thank you for your time.
Thank you guys. See you next week.
That was our race winner out of the booth. I'm going to hand second place Robert Miller over to Corey Silva.
All right, Robert, you had a great run. You had one of the cars that we thought probably could handle with Delaney, if not be faster than him, but you had such a hard time recovering from that kind of weird pit sequence that threw you back there at about 8th or 9th, but drove all the way up there, probably praying for a caution, but still settled for a solid second place on the night. Kind of wrap up your night for us, man.
Oh, man, like, I wasn't even thinking of running today at all. I was like, I'm going to run Phoenix. I didn't build a setup or nothing. And then, yeah, like, let's say 3 o'clock this afternoon, I said, let me just see if I got something. Mess with it for an hour. Lo and behold, here we go. Like, best long run setup I built in Phoenix in freaking 4 years, maybe? I don't know, something crazy. So I'll take it. This car was a lightning rod. Like, all race long, we were digging. We were just chilling. We were the first part of the runs, and then she just came to life after 20, 25 laps. I started knocking people down, you know, just making up time. It was great race.
Yeah, if you could kind of summarize for us, we were a little confused that kind of, it was some guys who had already pitted, some guys hadn't. You went in the pits in the lead, and somehow came out in 8th, and then you were stuck on the dirty air. Could you kind of summarize how that even happened, and then ultimately what was that car like when you were deep in that dirty air?
Yeah, because I had such a big lead, I was already caught the pace car, but nobody else has, and the pit road did not open until the pace car was cleared pit road, but I was already there, and I had no chance to actually get on the pit road by the time pit road opened for me. That's basically what happened. And then obviously pit road opened after I passed it, so everybody else was able to get in the pits, and that's how I got back there. So I was like, well, here we go again, and I started passing people again.
So basically, the sim penalized you for being too fast. Is basically what you're saying. So I guess take it as a compliment or whatever, but it hurt you, but you eventually worked through the dirty air. You got yourself in a second, and a solid run here on race number 4 in the season. Who do you want to give a shout out to for tonight's effort?
Logitech, or not Logitech, just Altus Esports. Yeah, we're having a great year. We got 4 people in Coke, and it's proven really well. And I'm doing well in RTP. I'm actually doing that this year, so we'll see how that happens, how that goes. And thank you for LMM and Andre for giving us a team to play around with. And yeah, it's been fun. Thank you all for the broadcast. And it's been a long time since I've been up here. It's been quite a time. You know, I haven't finished race all year, so it's great.
All right. Well, you probably won't talk to you next week because it's Admin Motor Speedway, so I'm sure it'll be Damaris and Kevin up here. But maybe we'll see you the following week. Congrats.
I will not be at Atlanta, so I will see y'all in Coda.
All right. Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you
later.
And now Andre has caught up with the bottom of the podium, 97 of Matt Long.
Mr. Long, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Matt, you had a really good run all night long. I mean, just painfully consistent. I don't think I ever looked at the timing and scoring and seen you outside the top 5. Just looked like you had an all-around good car, but just tell me a little bit about your race.
Well, I must have pulled some magic on you, man, because we got caught out. And we were, first of all, we were running great, top 5 early and everything, right where we wanted to be. And we got caught out on that caution during green flag pit stops. We had pit just before it, and I had to take a wave around, starting to roll tires, stage 2 there, and was just digging back all race long, and finally got up there in position, and then got caught up in that wreck with Robert. And I thought I was done for. And we restarted, damaged car, scrubbed up tires, and she held on. So we had a little something on the long run there, I think. But hey, we'll take that. The start of the season has been atrocious for us. Got suspended, wrecked, everything. So that's just the run we needed.
Yeah, it's been a very eventful first 4 rounds for the 97 team, that's for certain. But this is a good change of pace. Definitely seems like things are turning around a little bit. And, next week we're going to Atlanta, which is going to be kind of a different style of racing. How do you feel about going to Atlanta?
I think they ruined that track. It's my home track. I've never raced this version on iRacing. So, I got some awesome teammates. And we're just going to go out there as a team and just hopefully miss the wrecks. That's about it.
I'm glad you said it. Then I don't have to say it. They killed the track. I mean, it's not the Atlanta it used to be. But hey, being a bit of a super speedway race, having good teammates is going to be a lot of help for you, I'm sure. So we talked a little bit to John, and he said that it was really difficult to overtake. Said that it was really all about the drive off out of the corner. What was your experience when you were kind of in and amongst the fray and racing with the competition?
Yeah, it's really hard to pass here. Man, dirty air is just horrible. And by the end of the run, you just can't get that drive off to pass someone unless you were just crazy better than them. So luckily we had, when we got into our trouble, we had enough time. It took a good 150 laps to claw back up there, but mainly on restarts. I had some good restarts all day. So that helped.
Yeah, the restarts were pretty solid all around. We didn't really have any trouble on the restarts from anybody. Very clean restarts for the most part. But before we let you off the hook, Matt, is there any shout-outs or thank yous you'd like to make?
Yeah, just thanks to my whole team, man. We brought some really fast cars, and everyone's been helping out and putting in work, and I can't thank them enough. You guys for just broadcasting, really appreciate that, and Damaris and Kevin for running the league. Appreciate it all.
All righty. Well, thank you for your time, Matt. We'll catch you next week.
All right, thanks, y'all.
And that is going to do it for our post-race interviews and should just about do it for our post-race coverage. Corey, any post-race thoughts?
Yeah, we just saw a night of a lot of comers and goers, and we saw Delaney doing Delaney things. So for the rest of the field, hopefully he doesn't get into a groove, because once he starts going, it's going to be a long season for everybody else.
Well, he may already be in that groove, so we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I've been Andre Grambush, joined alongside Corey Silva, and of course, producer Carlos Acosta, pushing the buttons, bringing all the action to your TV and computers. We will see you next week at Admin Motor Speedway.